You're listening to M.T.V.B. Podcast. Movies, TV, video and board games. This show may contain swearing.
Hello and welcome to yet another episode of the M.T.V.B. podcast. It's the podcast that talks about movies, TV shows, video games and board games. And this week we're going to do a episode based on board games, seeing as we haven't done one for a while. So I'm joined by two guests this week. Becoming a regular now as a member of the Legends of Podcasting. Stuart, sir, how are you?
Thank you for having me back once again, sir.
Once again, sir. And finally we have the second co-host of Board Stupid podcast, as well as known as the Games Master himself. Wayne, how are you, sir?
Very well. Thanks so much for having me along.
Thank you for finally coming, sir. Thank you.
It's a pleasure.
So you guys want to talk about your podcast quickly? You want to go ahead?
Yeah, sure. Thanks for that, Annie. So, people haven't already heard that on the previous ones, with three of my friends, do a channel called Legends of Podcasting. We have a YouTube channel which reacts to all sorts of superhero shows, like all the DC shows, Marvel shows, and we also do a podcast, anything superhero comic book related, we will talk about it on our podcast. So yeah, come and find us on Anchor and YouTube.
Nice. And you, sir?
Yeah, so Simon would probably have plugged us before, but we are Board Stupid. We talk about board games mostly and Dungeons and Dragons, and occasionally other things in between that. So as we say, D&D board games and other awesome stuff, whatever that encompasses. So you can find Board Stupid, so B-O-A-R-D, Stupid, on Facebook. You can find us on Twitter. You can find us on any of your favourite podcast networks.
Nice. Oh, we finally got you in for board games.
For board games.
This is one I'm interested about. So
that's my niche. If I could do anything, you're like, we do movies, TV shows, video games. I was like, just stick me at the B. That's my bit.
And I'll come on the show.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. That's all it took.
Yeah. So we're going to go into like the last episode we did with board games. We're going to basically go into your history, how it all started with your games, where it all started from, and how your love for board games has made you now have a podcast literally just on board games.
Yeah.
And then obviously we'll go into Stuart's history as well after that as well. So you want to start, Wayne?
Yeah, why not? So I really got into the hobby properly, I would say, in terms of modern board games or designer board games as we know them now. Close to almost 10 years ago when the boom, this current golden age really began. So with the start of those big Kickstarter, big box games which started coming out, I started getting in roughly when that was happening, so I sort of joined just as the wave was starting to rise. A couple of friends of mine were getting together, and I was trying to think to myself, what can we do on an evening that isn't just bloody Scrabble or fucking Monopoly or anything else that is like that? So I started to look at, okay, what's a good board game these days? And there must be more than Scrabble and Monopoly and all of that, and Yahtzee. And lo and behold, there was. And my first introduction to things like that was games like Ticket to Ride and games like
Good game.
King of Tokyo. Oh. All of these, fantastic sort of, which any person that's been in the hobby for any amount of time will tell you are fantastic gateway games, or just for fantastic games, period. I mean, the gateway isn't relevant. Games like Pandemic, these are all my sort of first introductions or reintroductions to the hobby. So I think we've all been there with things like Cluedo and Monopoly and all that stuff back in the day. I kind of don't count that per se. Like, yes, I love them, but for me, real, I suppose, in inverted commas, my real love for board gaming started properly when I got back into the hobby close to about 10 years ago.
Yeah, I guess like Cluedo and stuff's more for kids and stuff. So I'm like reliving Ludo, Cluedo,
yes,
Monopoly, and like even Battleships now with my daughters.
Oh wow, really?
Yeah. So reliving
I played Battleships in ages, man.
That's great. I think you forget how good that game is until you play it. You're like, oh yeah.
See, my soul hurts, Stuart. My soul hurts. Like the amount of, I'll tell you what. After the show, there's some really great kids games that I could probably recommend you. You can sort of throw all that stuff out and
get away from that.
You'll start them off slow. They play. I've got them into Power Rangers and stuff as well.
Oh, cool. Okay, yeah. But no, there's some amazing stuff out there now, and so that's a brief history of how I got into it, and then it sort of progressed, and I started to fall down the rabbit hole, getting bigger and heavier games, and now it's just. It's just a money sink.
I was going to say
they do get expensive.
They certainly do. And rightly so, because the production on games these days is better than it's ever been.
Yeah, totally agree. Steven, you want
to? So I say as a kid, similar to what Wayne was saying, you play all the sort of basic ones. I was managed to get in Hero Quest really early.
Oh, I so love
that's
that
a
game.
legitimate classic.
Yeah. When I was, I must have been 10, 11, and a guy, one of my friends who lived opposite me, his dad got it, and he sort of taught us how to play it, and he'd be like the games master, and we'd be like doing the dungeons, and it was just like, it's such a cool game. I used to play that quite regularly with him, and also my cousin used to work in Games Workshop, and so for every birthday or Christmas, he would send me like Warhammer stuff or some Magic stuff.
Yeah, do you know what? Actually, probably I missed out a step, and you've reminded me, as a matter of fact, because I was into D&D in my early teens, and then big into 40k in my early teens as well, and sort of my mid-teens for sure. And that anything from Warhammer Fantasy, 40k, all that model war gaming was
yes, it was massive. Step. Yeah, let's say even back then, those sort of miniatures are great. Like,
they were fantastic.
I mean, not the scale they are today, but they were still amazing to. And I used to enjoy painting them, like the ones I'm getting now, like the Power Rangers game and stuff like that. I'm too scared to paint. But back in the day when you're a kid, you're like, hey, I just painted one colour and like put little bits on it. That's fine. That's all good. Amateur hour stuff. But yeah. And it sort of, it sort of progressed, and then it sort of stopped. And then I can't remember what year it came out, but because I was into comic books and stuff, Marvel Legendary, God, it must be.
Great game.
Must be 10 years ago? No, it can't be. Something like that.
Was that the card game where you played at your house?
Yeah, a long time ago.
Yeah. It was a good 10 years ago, at least. Yeah.
Yeah, so I got that, and I started inviting like Anthony and a few people around, and we were playing that, and then they've just brought out expansion after expansion of that.
Legendary is amazing. It's a legitimately brilliant cooperative game. They have it in an Alien skin as well, Alien Legendary. Wow. So similar thing.
Yeah, there's a DC kind of version of it, but it doesn't have a board. It's just more deck building and sort of killing stuff off. But yeah, so because it was comic book related, I was like, get it. Artwork was great, brilliant. So we played that. Me and Ross, the other guy does a podcast, and he used to come around all the time, just do 2-player, then we managed to get more people, need more and more. And then, it's like Wayne said, then you just could go, oh, there's another game coming out. There's another game coming out. Oh, there's another game coming out. And you just end up buying, and I've got like stacks of them in my house now.
You still have them?
Yeah. Some of them. And like James and a few others come over and they bring all their games, and they end up leaving it in my house, because we usually do it in my house most of the time. So I've got my spare room, literally a corner, is like stacked to the ceiling just of boxes. I think
you're just the storage guy.
Yeah, exactly. I'm the host and storage guy, just to keep it all. But yeah, and there's been
some of the stuff Wayne pops out when you do game nights at his. I was like, where do you keep all this?
just secret entrance.
That's it. Yeah. Lots of IKEA Kallax. That's it. So, little plug for the IKEA Kallax, the perfect board game storage.
Nice.
That stuff. Yeah, can't live without it.
Yeah, nice. And there's I've been getting a few, and then the most recent one I've actually properly done a Kickstarter for my first time ever, and it's this new Batman animated series game that's coming out in December. And I was just like, it's like my favourite TV show ever. I'm like, I can't.
Was that the one based in the 90s one?
Yeah, like the 90s cartoon, yeah.
Yes.
And I was like, I can't not turn this down. And I was looking at it going, I was like, there's like a basic set, or there's like an all-in set. I'm like, I'm going to have to go all in. Yeah, okay, and I'm not even going to say the price, because my wife might listen to this. It's not good. Yeah. But there's lots of boxes coming in this Kickstarter. It's just crazy how big let's say the Power Ranger one I've got, it's got, like, the boxes are so big because of all the miniatures, and it's just crazy. But
then you've got, like, the individual ones for, just the Megazord.
Yeah, the Megazord box by itself, it's crazy.
That's crazy, yeah. So yeah, my other question to you guys is, are you into more than one different type of board game? Like, if I said to you now, I'll whip out a card game or a puzzle game or something like that, would you, even if you've not played it before, would you still give it a go, or are you strict to, like, I don't like a certain type, or?
No, I would consider myself an omni gamer. Yeah. So in that respect, I like games that have just pure card games, are dice games, that are social deduction games, have worker placement mechanics. Mm-hmm. For me, there's a few things that attract me to a board game, and I talk about it a lot on the show, and we're going to do probably an episode on it, is something I call theme gameplay interaction.
Okay.
So whenever I find a game that has sort of the great synergy of mechanics and theme, that's what really drags, that's magic for me.
Yeah.
So I need a nice, big, bold theme, and I need like a really strong mechanical structure to bring that flavour out. It's like crack, I can't get enough of it. So, it's very Moorish, very Moorish. So, no, not really attracted to specific. I suppose if I was to pick a type of game that I'm least fond of, it's probably dry, abstract or Euro games.
Okay.
So normally anything that involves sort of farming or just sort of, you know what I mean, like anything by a German designer that is that has no discernible, enjoyable theme for me, at least.
Yeah.
The game can be amazing. Let me give you an example.
Yeah.
When I was getting into the hobby, everyone kept raving about a game called Castles of Burgundy. Right?
Okay.
In terms of gameplay structure, it's a Euro game, brilliantly balanced, perfectly designed. Boring as shit. I'd never play it again.
Oh wow, really?
Never play it again. So, but it's one of those things you don't figure out until you start playing games. Because something that everyone rates and goes, this is an amazing game. It may well be an amazingly designed game, but that's not the game that I like. But generally speaking, I'm pretty open. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And same with you, Stu?
Yeah, and I'd agree with that. So, quite a good thing about when the guys come over to my house is they'll bring like a new game with them that maybe one person's played and no one else has, and they explain it. And just getting to learn that game with everyone's like really fun. But yeah, I don't have any specific love. I mean, anything superhero related, great. Anything
which is a bonus.
Yeah, exactly. Anything put like like the most basic game. Put a Batman face on it. I'm there. But yeah, and I just enjoy like the artwork and stuff. Like I'm big into comic books, and the big thing that draws me to stories and comic books is the artwork. It's just like pieces of art, and some of the stuff on these games, like things like Magic the Gathering, like the artwork on it is so beautiful. It's just like playing these bits of artwork.
Oh my gosh, the production levels, like we mentioned just briefly, are so off the chart these days. I mean, they have such incredibly talented artists designing the boards, the pieces, the parts. And we played Rising Sun and anything with
incredible game.
You look at it, it looks incredible. It looks like a watercolor painting.
Yeah.
Right? And some of the stuff and the miniatures and the amount of time and detail that goes into it. I mean, this isn't knockoff stuff anymore. I mean, this is really high quality stuff. That's why the term designer board games is pretty apt.
Yeah, and there's so many being released every so often as well. It's amazing. But yeah, I mean, I quite enjoy playing. So yeah, when guys come around, we play. Sometimes we'll do a game where it's like, so like the Power Rangers game or this Batman game I've got takes like a night to do one game, and then it's because it's like takes 2-3 hours to play. And then there's some other games where it'd be like Skull or Avalon or something, which is really quick and go around, like can do 4 or 5 in a night.
Yeah, that was actually going to be my next question is anything like a game that's set up too long, like an off-putter to you guys? Like, say you came over mine, Wayne, and I said, right, we're going to play Nemesis, but you know for a fact that takes a good amount of time to set up. Yes. Would that be like an off-put to you and just be like...
not necessarily. I mean, it's something that does bug me about board game design is there seems to be very little thought to set up and tear down, right? So and I appreciate that the time goes into the gameplay development, of course, and to the design of the thing, right? Fine, but I think a little bit more time and care could be taken in the consideration of that, because it is a pain in the ass sometimes to spend 30 minutes setting up a game and 30 minutes tearing down a game when you have a limited amount of time to play board games. That's an hour of your time that you can't play. You're just faffing about it. But generally speaking, no. I mean, I've played like Star Wars Rebellion, which has taken 6 hours.
Oh, that does look incredible.
It's amazing. Yeah,
I want to play that. I haven't played that yet.
Oh, you have to come over and play it, because that is a night-long event.
Is it Star Wars D&D? Is that what it is?
No, it's basically Star Wars hide and seek. No, it's literally the epitome of the original trilogy in a box. It's Star Wars at the galactic scale.
Okay.
So one side is the Empire, one side is the Rebel Alliance. The Rebel Alliance is trying to hide their sort of rebel base, and the Empire obviously is totally outnumbers you, has a massive amount of sort of power and machinery, and is going from planet to planet trying to find you, and you're trying to sort of basically outwit each other. And it's a phenomenal experience. I don't get it to the table enough because it
sounds like a massive game of Battlefront.
Yeah, essentially, it's incredible, and it's a really great fun game. Works best at 2 players. Yeah, you can play it 4 player, but it's 2 teams of 2, obviously. So, but no, phenomenal experience, and that's an example of a game that's very long, has a long setup, has a long teardown, but I'd still play it. So for me, and is the payoff worth it?
Okay, yeah.
Right,
is it understandable?
I got a question for you guys. I don't know the answer myself yet, but do you have, because obviously there's some games where you play against each other, or there's some games where it's co-op.
The co-op, yeah.
Which one do you prefer?
That's a good question. I mean, I love a co-op game. Like, as we'll get to our top 5s and stuff at some point in the podcast, but some of my favorite games of all time are competitive. I don't know. I think that's a really tough question to answer. I think on the face of it, if I told you my top 5 now, you'd get the impression that competitive games are my favorite games.
Yes. Yeah.
And but I think, yeah, probably competitive games would be my favourite. Cooperative games I love, but only if they're very challenging. Because I get the enjoyment out of the difficulty of the game. It makes the final victory more like, oh,
yeah,
I did it.
Yeah, no. So I'm the same because I don't know. Looking at all the games of like my top 5, it's a definite mixture. I enjoy playing in a co-op game, like working together, like with cards or whatever you're doing, trying to beat these bad guys, but also then playing against each other, just trying to like outdo each other is so much fun.
It is. It speaks to that deeply rooted competitive instinct.
Absolutely.
Yeah, massively.
Like,
human instinct, just to beat other people to hell.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, we're ruthless bastards.
Deep down we are.
Everyone's a ruthless prick. Yeah.
Everyone wants to be the alpha male and beat everyone else.
That's quite right. No,
yeah, I think it's the same way. It's like I like a bit of both. I mean, again, depending on the game, some in my top 5, you kind of start off competitive, but then you could be like,
and I suppose,
we'll go into it later, won't we? So, yeah.
But there's that middle ground as well, which I suppose often gets overlooked, which is the semi-co-op game.
Yeah.
So games such as Dead of Winter or Nemesis, where it is ostensibly cooperative at the beginning.
Yes.
But it's not really, because someone is, trying to screw you over.
Exactly,
or
was it, James, when we played the other day? Oh, Knights of Camelot. When you're
Shadows of Camelot.
Yes, that's one. Yeah, where one of you's a traitor,
yes,
but you're like trying to win.
That game is the progenitor of games like Dead of Winter,
Yep.
Battlestar Galactica, and Nemesis and games like that. It really, I don't know if I'd say it introduced it, but it absolutely popularized the concept of that hidden traitor mechanic in a big, well-designed, because the production value of that game is great.
Oh, yeah.
Board game. Days of Wonder as well. Everything they produce is top notch.
Nice.
Also produce Ticket to Ride.
Do they?
Yeah. Yep. Same company.
Oh, nice.
And Memoir 44, great war game.
Yeah. So my next question is, how do you feel about games that require interaction, like using an app, for example? Are you okay with those, or do you feel like it doesn't use like for D&D, you use a lot of imagination, like it kind of goes if you use an app?
That is a good question. I think it depends on how integral the app is to the experience. I'm all on board with an optional app to help with the gameplay. Yeah. I don't know how I feel per se about an app being essential to the game. I know of various games like that. I can't remember what it's called now. Based on a video game series anyway, where it's a real-time game and you have an app that is integral to that because it shouts out instructions and things like this. And I don't know. I think it could be a fun experience, but I don't know. I feel like the whole backlash against, or the new reignition of everyone's interest in board games is a backlash against everyone's obsession with screen time.
Yes.
So I feel like those two things they're sort of juxtaposed. Like,
you can't integrate screen time into a board game.
Yeah, I feel like
against it.
I feel like for me it feels a bit perverse.
Yeah.
I don't know why it does, but
no, I don't think I've ever played. The only app I've used is like using the life counter for Magic. I don't think I've ever played another game.
That's an optional.
Yeah, exactly.
And I'm totally down for that.
An
optional thing to make some things easy. Fine, I can get that. I probably wouldn't use it, but I understand it.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever played a game that's got an app integral to it. So.
I only asked because me and Simon recently played Manchester Madness
2nd edition, which has
that app.
So,
which literally is the app all the way through, though, isn't it? So,
correct. In the first edition of that game, one of the players took over the role of basically DMing that game.
Yes, I played the first version.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I haven't played the one with an app.
So the second edition, they have an app to do that.
Oh, okay.
And I get it because it's an assistant to the game.
Yeah.
I couldn't give you a full-on opinion. My personal thoughts, I guess, would be not for me.
Yeah.
No, I guess.
That's fair, yeah.
I like a tactile experience where I don't need anything extra. That's my love for board games.
Yes,
it's just,
exactly.
Just us and some stuff.
on a table.
That's it, yeah, man.
Nice.
Yeah.
Pen and paper and your imagination.
Have you got anything like, so I've been having a little Google and a look around for these sort of risers that go on tables. So
do you know what? I was very close. I was that close to buying one. And, kind of tempted.
I'm tempted as well. So, I can't remember what it's called, but it's like got a black rubber with like these little
metal legs.
Yeah, the same one probably.
Yeah, I've seen it. Yeah, it kickstarted, I think.
Yes,
so.
yeah. Like, I mean, because it's another thing about board games of all the little tiny pieces that you have all over this table, as well as them trying to have drinks and everything else. It just gets such a mess.
I have a 6 foot long table, and with some of the games that I have, they sprawl across every
inch
fraction of that table.
Crazy.
So
I'm so glad you said table in that sentence.
yeah, so
every inch of my
every inch of my table. And despite its length and girth, it still cannot cope with some of the board games that I have. They're just
about manages Dinosaur
yes,
Island.
Man. Some of those board games are too much woman for my table, so I cannot do it. So,
but some of those game tables on Kickstarter, like if I had 3-4 grand spare, well, the table dips in to the board.
Oh yeah,
and you can like plug your
Oh.
phone in it. You can have cup holders and stuff.
Yeah, that's the good stuff.
God damn, that's the
that's
dream.
that next level stuff,
Yeah.
man. I mean, that would be amazing. If I had a games room, like dedicated games room, you
Yes.
can bet your ass I've got one of those in there. Jeez.
Ugh, that's the credit card all over again.
Well, one day, man.
There are times where I just like consider, no, I can't do it.
No, and like I said, I have a reasonable sized table, but yeah, seriously, some games have zero respect for your table space. I mean, they just, like, the designers are like, well, good luck.
Yeah, I mean, again, that was a part of the setup part, if that would put you off or not. I mean, like I said, you lucky enough had the big enough table to do that, so some people aren't, and I don't. It's a shame that it might put them off.
It would, I guess so. I suppose, because that's not something that's immediately obvious unless you do like quite a lot of research before that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So my next question is, one sec, I've got to get my notes. So before we go into our top 5, is there anything you're looking forward to that is coming soon, or you have pre-ordered that you're ready to?
That Batman game.
The Batman
Sorry,
game, you
jumped in.
keep mentioning it.
mean,
Even before the episode, you keep mentioning that bloody game.
I'm having sleepless nights till it comes out. I'm not going to lie. In December.
And that's only one.
And the only other ones I got is I've got the Power Rangers expansion coming next month, I think. It's got like Lord Zed and Goldar and stuff in it, and Super Putties. And,
Nice.
Zed Putties and all this kind of stuff. That's coming because we played that Power Rangers game quite a few times, and it's all got stale quickly, but because it was just either Rita and then Ross bought the expansion with Lord Draken. It was either those two bad guys. That's pretty much all you could do. With this expansion I'm getting, you've got like 5 or 6 bosses, so it makes it a lot more random. So yeah, it should be a lot more fun.
Nice.
I've heard nothing but good things about that Power Rangers game.
It's so good, mate.
I would really need to play that.
Yeah,
in my life.
mate, more than welcome. So yeah, I literally, I think it was James introduced me to these because he's into Power Rangers. Read this comic book, and I was like, no, trust me, read this comic book. And I've read the whole comic book series now, and the game's based on that, and it's just amazing.
Very nice.
So like the artwork of it, they modernised Power Rangers and made them cool.
Yeah,
and the storyline is just amazing.
Very nice. No, I'm gonna bust out my wish list for you.
Yeah, do it, mate. Let's hear
this
it.
is the current stuff on my wish list. We have a game called Horrified, which came out last year. Cooperative game based on a sort of old school horror monsters, things like Frankenstein and the Invisible Man and that sort of thing, where you're a team of people trying to protect the town from these old school monsters. Got nothing but rave reviews, and it has piqued my interest because it's a co-op as well.
Okay, is that like miniatures?
Yeah, it has a couple of minis,
Okay.
but it's not a miniature skirmish game or anything. It's a bit simpler than that.
Okay.
But that one went right up the list. The big one is probably Ankh Gods of Egypt. So by Come On Games, or Call Me or Not. Also an Eric Lang designed game. He also designed Blood Rage and Rising Sun, 2 of my favourite games. They all share the same genetics. So they share area control, they share big beastie monsters and big minis, and they share sort of fighting and asymmetry and variable player powers and war and things like that. So they have this sort of shared genetics, but how he implements them is different and clever. So in Blood Rage, it's very much, you're Vikings, you fight to the death, you fight for glory, for Valhalla. Rising Sun takes that principle, but instead it's democratic. Now you have political backstabbing as part of it before you start getting into the area
love
control.
that game.
It's
so
amazing,
good.
phenomenal game. And what I liked, Dan, when you played it the first time, you said you didn't know if you'd like it or not.
Yeah,
Just looking
absolutely.
at it and you think, is it going to be like Risk or something like that? It's not really. It's way more political than that. And,
absolutely, man.
Yeah,
It's like you said with the setup, when I literally walked in that room and saw all the pieces, the map and everything. I was just like, I'm not too sure if I'm going to like this, but you gave me the chance and it came out smiling, mate. I just frigging love that game. It's so well done. The miniatures again, it's just incredible.
Yeah, an absolute blast. So that's a big one. And Ankh is the third one in that trilogy of games that shares those design. But this one is instead obviously based on Egyptian sort of mythology, and I'm super excited about that because it looks like the most streamlined version of his sort of design philosophies. So excited about that. And also on the wish list is an expansion for Scythe. Scythe Rise of Fenris. Scythe has been out a while now, a few years.
I need to play that game. I was actually talking to James about it last night.
Yeah, no, I haven't played it either.
You guys would love that game. It's one of my favourites.
I've heard so many good things about it.
It's brilliant. And Rise of Fenris takes that game to the next level. It turns it into a sort of somewhat legacy game, but entirely resettable legacy game. And those sort of elements that you can add them as modules. You can take them back out again. So that I'm desperate to get. And I think that's pretty much about it. Oh, no, and Sleeping Gods. So Ryan Fawcett, and he also did Near and Far. It's a sort of almost storybook kind of game, and just in an amazingly designed world, with beautiful art, great mechanics, sort of almost worker placement, and you have like a legacy character which will go through the different stories of the world. Really awesome. So excited about all of that stuff. And the list just gets ever longer, I'll be honest with you.
Oh, the more stuff on Kickstarter, it just keeps going and going. It's just like,
I know,
I can't afford this.
They keep just getting better and better as well. You're like, oh, this is never going to be beaten. Oh, wait, there's another one.
Oh, here we go. Yeah, it does. Oh, and also, sorry, one more. The Metal Gear Solid board game.
Oh, my God. Yes.
Yes.
Yes, I would very much like to play that game.
So that one, I believe, is supposed to be out later this year. Designed by Emerson Matsuuchi, who also designed Spectre Ops, which is also a great game, where it's a one versus all game where someone's infiltrating a facility, trying to escape from the captors who are trying to find that person. So obviously very Metal Gear, as you quite imagine. So the fact that he is designing the Metal Gear Solid board game gives me great hope, because Spectre Ops is fantastic. Yeah, and he's just generally a good designer. I mean, he did also things like Century Spice Road, completely different games, but have been really well rated, and just for their elegant mechanics. So, yeah.
Thing is, I'll probably play that game trying to do all the sound effects to Metal Gear.
That's the best. That's the best bit about the game. Don't you remember playing Power Rangers with the putties?
That's what I say. We were just doing putty sounds and whatnot. It's just, you can't help yourself.
Right. There is actually one more game I forgot.
Go for it.
I don't know if I'm going to pre-order it, but I saw it come up the other day. There's like a He-Man and the Masters of the Universe.
Oh
game.
Yes.
There are two versions.
Yeah, I know. I saw there's two different games coming.
Yes, there's one in Asia, which apparently is the really good one, because that's designed by Come On Games. And we don't get that for some reason because of some licensing problems. I don't know.
Annoying. You could especially by Come On as well.
Yes, I know. You could import it potentially. So,
yeah, of course.
As a way, but it might
translate it.
Yeah, exactly. It might cost you an arm. It might be in Malaysian, but whatever.
Guess how
Malaysian He-Man.
And then, but the other one I can't believe, is the other one a card game or something?
I think I've seen a miniature of He-Man like riding Battlecat, like with a sword up in the sky. So that's why I saw that and I was like, game, I'm going to get that now.
Nice, good choice. Hopefully we get that here as well. So.
Very nice.
Yeah, sorry, I actually left out a question before we go to top five.
No.
Obviously, your hobby is the board game collecting side, but would you go the next step further and paint your miniatures at all? Like your Power Rangers set would be epic if it was painted, or some of your Nemesis stuff. If you, absolutely, yeah.
I don't think I have the. I'd love to. I just don't have the skill to do it. The amount it costs, I wouldn't want to risk. I know you could probably just wipe it or like get it off somehow with like white spirit or something if it goes wrong. I can't risk it. If I could find someone who could do it really well,
that was going to be
I would pay them to do it, no problem. But I can't now. I don't have the guts to do it myself.
The guts or the money.
No, yeah.
I feel like not that it's not like I don't have the skill, because let's be I'll be totally blunt. I do not have the skill. That's not a question.
no, yeah, of course. Yeah.
The problem is the time to get good at it. Right, and I would happily love to paint all of my stuff, but the time that I know it's going to take for me to sit down and get good at that stuff, I cannot spare. So I already find it hard enough to get a weekly game session in, or even if it's bi-weekly, it's already difficult enough. So that, along with everything else, is
or
a
podcast. Hint, folks, listening.
Yeah, 100%. Already trying to get time in to record the podcast, play the games, and everything else that goes on.
Yeah, because I remember playing Rising Sun, and then I saw the miniature for the Earth Dragon.
It's so
awesome.
Just,
my God, I would love to see this beauty painted. That would have been like
on Board Game Geek. There's in the forums for that, in the images forums, they have some absolutely phenomenal paintwork. I mean, the people that own this game and that are legitimately good at that stuff, have turned that thing into just a world, like a world of wonder, really.
Yeah, I follow. There's a Facebook page for the Power Rangers game. There's people constantly putting up, I painted this one, and it looks. Some of them, which makes me worry, some of them don't look great. It's like you can see little brush like white where it should be red and stuff. But some of them, if they're good at it, it just looks amazing.
Your Megazord needs to be painted.
Yeah, I know. They even put like the little sort of shadow and stuff that should be on it and make it look like pop. You know, it's 3D already, but like pop more. That makes sense. Yeah. And shading and stuff on it. I'm just like, that'd be really cool if I had that skill. But
yeah.
Sadly not.
Yeah, I think it really is just time, man. I think it would be an amazing thing, and I would love it if they all magically were painted. But
yeah, absolutely. It's the same as. I mean, just some
case.
of the stuff I just see, even when people put the more effect into the bases, like the sand and the grass and whatnot. I would just love to be able to do something like that. I mean, YouTube makes it look so simple, but it's probably not at all, is it?
Specialist paints you have to buy and all this stuff as well.
I see like this 10-minute cut video of like this immaculate how to do your minis. That 10 minutes is going to take me 3 or 4 hours.
Yes.
And be,
or 3 or 4 days
terrible.
for me.
Yeah, and be terrible.
Start off with the crap characters first until you get good.
Yeah, exactly that.
Nice.
But looking forward to a lot, and it's a lot of things to get through on the wish list. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I mean, I'm definitely looking forward to the end of the trilogy, but I still need to play Blood Rage yet.
You do come around for that for sure.
Yes.
Is that one? Is there? I mean, sorry, just before we go into it, is because you've obviously got loads and loads of games. Is there a sort of short list of ones that are always good to pop out? Because I think at the moment what we do at my house is we'll play like one game like for a month, like every week we'll play the same sort of game, and then we'll sort of go, right, let's go on to another one and bring it out every time. Or do you like bring out a new game every week?
Well, I've got access to, and in my collection, probably around 100 or so board games, maybe slightly more. I can bring out a new game because most people that come over haven't played all my stuff, and so because I generally have different mixes of people, and it's whatever I bring out is normally new to somebody at the table.
So do you pick the game before they come around saying, guys, we're going to make this tonight, or is it like I'll have a vote? Or
no, not really a vote. It's more of a collaborative thing. So I would be like, well, what kind of things do you like?
No democracy in your
Oh no, I'm the dictator now, so hey, I'm the arbiter of fun. So no, it's more like
I'll tell you what you're going to have fun with.
But it's like you saying earlier on, it's getting the people over to play it. I think that's another good side to it as well, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, well, once people are in and they've got an interest in playing a game, I think I have quite a lot of experience with teaching people war games, and I enjoy doing that. And I think the fun for me is taking from someone who might not, at first glance, be into that particular game. Then they play a couple of rounds, and actually they fall in love with it. Because sometimes, like you said, with Rising Sun, and I've experienced it myself, where I've looked at a board game and I've gone, I'm not sure about that. A great example of that is Seven Wonders, which is a pure card drafting game, probably a modern classic at this point. The theme is quite dry, sort of a history/civilization-esque theme. Not something that I would immediately go, I'll pick up off the shelf and go, yeah, I want to play this game.
Yeah.
Got introduced to it, played it, absolutely loved it. It's magic. I mean, it's one of those games you think, now I understand why this is so good. I mean, to some extent, you can say that with Ticket to Ride. I'm not that interested in trains, but man, that is a modern classic.
It's exactly the same with me. I mean, I've only just recently got into Ticket to Ride.
Yeah.
But again, train never really interested me. But when I started playing, I was like, this is like Rising Sun all over again. It's like, I didn't think I was going to like this, but this is great.
It's a beautiful family game, and but not just a family game. It's just a good game, full stop. Nice, simple design, philosophy, and really good stuff there. So, no, in answer to your question, I'll generally just pull something out that I think most people will enjoy, and most people will do. I will always ask the question, is there anything specific from the collection you want to play? Then I'll...
There was a couple of times where I requested it and you was okay with it.
Yeah.
And then ever since then, you're like, Andy, we're going to do this now. And I'm like, okay, fine.
I trust you.
Ever since Rising Sun, I trust you now.
Yeah. Oh, there you go. Since then, we did Nemesis, we did Western Legends.
Absolutely,
I really want to play Western Legends. I really want to play.
It's a blast.
Yeah. I mean, I've heard so much good things
You'll love
about
it, dude. It's cracking.
So we've
but again, I'm not into Westerns, so that's another game I didn't think I was going to like.
I was going to say, like, a game we've been playing recently the past few times now is Cult Express.
Yes.
I mean, you told me about this last night. It sounds really good.
And I was like again, James brought it around, and he had it for like a year. His friends bought it from him. He never played it. And he brought it around. I was like, we'll give it a go. And we played it. It's such a clever game. Yeah. It's so, like, it's literally you're like these bank robbers on a train. But rather than you having to move, you have to pick. You've got set cards in your hand, and it's like move up and down, pick up loot, like punch someone to drop loot, shoot someone, and you, depending what round it is, you have like 4 or 5 goes. But you'll put a card round, and you play out the whole deck that you put in. Yeah. So you can think you're going to be there, but someone might have pushed you or moved you somewhere else, and then it buggers up everything else you've done.
Cheek of it.
Yeah. It was just a really clever.
The nerve.
I know. I was like, God, what the hell are you doing? But like, I didn't think. I was like, oh yeah, sounds alright. But you can't roll dice or like hit anyone or do it. It's just cards. But actually, it's really addictive, and actually, it's quite quick. It's about 40 minutes.
You had me at DeLorean.
And there's an expansion to put the DeLorean at the front of the train as well. Yeah,
amazing.
I was like, done deal
for sure. I think it's Yeah, part of the beauty of games, as well as the amazing artwork that we have these days, is how gameplay design has evolved vastly, and you have some phenomenal, and that is a beautiful thing sometimes, just appreciating the amount of effort that's gone into making something so slick, or so much fun, or so engaging, and so,
Mm.
absorbing. Whenever you have that sort of cinematic experience when you're playing Nemesis or Rising Sun, or even games like Pandemic, these are cinematic experiences. You're saving the world, you are avoiding monsters, you are being dragged into it, and it's a magical thing. And I think it's something that only really board games can do in that tactile way.
Absolutely, yeah. It's like you say, you just get so into it. And when I played Nemesis for the first time, and it was just because I'd done my objective, I was like, oh crap, what do I do now for the next 2 rounds or so? And I was into it, like, what would I do? What would my character do? And oh man, it was just definitely good.
For sure. Yeah, there's a beauty in board game design, I think, that is often overshadowed by some of the incredible artwork that we have these days. But sometimes the simplicity of how a mechanic is integrated into a game and how it matches the theme can be magic. An example of that is Dinosaur Island.
Yes.
Those amber dice. The amber dice, you think Jurassic Park, you think of the needle going in, and because they literally represent the DNA that you're going to be extracting that round.
When you showed the instruction book and Mr. DNA was in it, I was like, holy crap, it's such
what a perfect example of theme mechanical interaction, where you have these big chunky amber dice that have DNA on them, and you're using them to extract DNA to then create dinosaurs with. That's perfect.
Amazing. Anything else?
No, good.
No? So, okay, we'll go into our top 5s.
It's time for a top 5.
Would anyone like to go first? This is your favourite games of all time. And we're going to cheat a little bit because mine are, technically 2 of them are card games. So
that's fine. I mean, it's your list, my man. I think before we even start the list, let's talk about how did you compile your list? So was it just literally your top 5 favorite games, or the top 5 games you'd like to play the most, or because there's a couple of ways that you can create a top 5 list.
Absolutely,
right?
It was definitely. I mean, to someone like yourself, mine was quite difficult to pick, but again, it's based on who I played it with, my history with it, and if I still kind of play it today or still want to play it today.
Yeah,
that's how I made my 5. I don't know.
Yeah, no, mine a lot of mine are more recent because of the older games, sort of are all the kiddie games. So I don't really play them anymore. So it's. It was a case of going, right, which ones do I play the most? Which ones do I get excited about playing? And which ones were sort of a surprise and actually really got me into that sort of type of game as well.
Because I was thinking of going back to, like you said, with Hero Quest. That was kind of like my first sort of D&D game for a 9-year-old at the time. But then there was stuff like Key to the Kingdom, Atmosphere. Do you remember that? Again, going back to interactive stuff.
Was that Atmosphere the one where it's like on a VHS?
That's right, yeah.
Stop, who holds the dice?
Yeah,
Let's roll a 6 to get
I'll tell you what.
There was a TikTok thing. I'm
going to quickly just belay our top 5 just for a second.
Yeah, go for it.
There's a company called Restoration Games. They take old games from the 60s, 70s, and 80s, and they redesign the mechanics to update them. So from like roll and move, like crappy mechanics that no one likes anymore, they will take that and they'll make something amazing out of it.
Oh, wow.
They did it with Downforce, which is now one of the best racing games that you can possibly buy. They did it, I can't remember what it's called, Volcano Island or something like that. They've done it with something.
Was that Fireball Island?
Fireball Island.
That was a cracking game.
They did it with Fireball Island.
Oh, wow.
So they redid the mechanics of that. So it's not a roll and move, and it's a more interesting game. If they could do that with Atmosphere,
yes.
Can you imagine?
All over that, baby.
Can you imagine how good that could be?
That's a game that you could have an app in easy.
Yeah, and that would be a great interaction in that game for sure.
Yeah, true.
Just to do the counter and it around me, and then I never actually played it myself. I remember my parents going around a friend's house and we would sit watching while they played it because it was I guess it was an adult-y game.
Yeah, it was. It
wasn't for kids. I think it was only about like 8 or 9. It was
like more for teenagers, wasn't it?
Yeah,
really. Yeah.
And I remember. I can't remember which version, but there was some sort of hot girl, and then she slowly turned into like some vampire as it went through
stuff.
Yeah.
It was like a trilogy of them or something. Anyway.
Freaky advert, wasn't it? It was like, even though it was on Saturday morning, you'd be like...
No, I remember that one.
But, sorry about that. But,
no.
Apart from that aside, my top 5 is essentially, on Board Game Geek, I have a big collection, like a big list, and if there's games that I want to play or games that I've played, I'll add that to the collection, and I rank them, so I have a rating, sort of out of 10 rating. and it changes regularly. So I'm going to just basically quickly qualify anything I'm about to say in the next half an hour or so with this may change tomorrow. It's like you asked me next week. If you asked me last week, this would be a different list. So,
do you regularly change the scores on the ones you play? Then?
I do because I go back into BGG when I buy a new game and I'll rank it and then I'll look at the list and I'll sometimes have to rejig some things because I like to keep up to date because people look at the lists and I'm friends with people on BGG and then everyone looks at each other's lists. So anyway. So it may change, but I have a rating scale, and it's the top 5 in my rating
of that rating scale. Okay,
if it changes, it's another episode.
Yeah,
come back for another
I'll come back for another one. But
version 23 of the list.
That's it. Yep.
Yeah. So, but generally speaking, that scale is how much, like you said, how excited am I about playing it? Yes. Will I always be happy to get that off the shelf and then throw it out? And if the answer is yes, that's going to be a very high rating.
Yeah, of course.
If it's I'll play it if I'm in the mood. That's probably like a 6 out of 10. Yeah. If it's like I'm so excited about this game, I can't wait to get out and show some people. That's a 10 out of 10.
Cool.
Just to give you some context.
No, that's fine. So yeah, just a heads up, guys. It could change, and then we'll get Wayne back.
Yeah, exactly. So next week I'll be back.
So yeah, I'll be back next episode. Yeah,
a weekly episode.
So who would like to start? Would anyone?
I mean, the Games Master should start.
Oh, you guys are the Games Master. Too kind. Right. Okay. So for my number 5 is one of the games that got me back into the hobby. Released in 2008. Cooperative game. Any guesses? I'll say Matt Leacock is the designer. He also designed Thunderbirds and he designed Forbidden Island, Forbidden Desert. And this game, you are saving the world, and it is very apt if you were to play it in the current sort of 2020. It is.
Oh, it is
Pandemic. Well guessed. So Pandemic, I will put under that umbrella the Pandemic IP, including Pandemic Iberia, Pandemic Legacy. Pandemic is a phenomenal game, and again, a modern classic that I would recommend to anybody of almost any age, any family. It's not even that expensive. You could pick this up. It's everywhere as well. It's not out of print or anything like that. Easy to get hold of, and a phenomenal cooperative experience with Matt Leacock creating a mechanic now, which is timeless.
Yeah,
that ever increasing and escalating threat in a board game. Did you play Pandemic with us?
I had the 10-year anniversary before.
Oh, you have Pandemic. Yes,
so that's why I was like, if it's 2008 and I've got the 10-year anniversary, it's got to be Pandemic.
I didn't realise it was that. I've honest, I'll hold hands up. I've never actually played it. I've seen it everywhere.
Yeah. Okay.
But I need to play it. But I didn't realise it was that old.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
Yeah, because I only got hold of my copy for Christmas last year. So I've only not long recently played it, but then that was just an updated version of the original, whereas I came over yours and we tried the Iberia version.
The Iberia, yeah.
And that is just a game changer full stop. It's a couple of different mechanics, but wow, it was like, holy crap, this is really good version. And I think it's an extra player on your version, wasn't it?
I think
normally 4 players.
It'll play 5. It'll play 5.
Yeah.
There is... Yeah, it's just fantastic. Another thing that will blow your mind is Ticket to Ride, not on my list, spoilers, but that's 2003.
God, so, really?
I know.
Wow, I didn't realise it was that long.
That old, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's because you just find it like a few years ago. This must be a new game, but no, it's
absolutely.
It's around a long time.
It's a modern classic at this point. That's why I feel the same way about Pandemic. But phenomenal cooperative game, and there's so many things to like about that game. The rules aren't obtuse. It's a nice, clean design. There's not loads of stuff. You can set it up in 10 minutes.
Yes,
get away in 10 minutes. It's easy to teach, and because it is a cooperative game, fully cooperative, not semi-cooperative, you can have a new player, and they're not shy about asking for help. Because with competitive games, you try and introduce someone into how to play it. They're sometimes a little bit shy about asking questions, like, well, I don't know if I should show you these cards.
Because it gives away
this and the other. But there's no fear for that in a cooperative game. It's a great way to get someone into the hobby, is something like that game, and it's magic.
You make it sound so relaxing, but it does get quite intense at some point.
I'm relaxed. Yeah. That game is one of the most stressful games you'll ever play. It's horrendously stressful.
So how many expansions are there? So the Iberia one's like an expansion?
It's a standalone version. So I originally had the original Pandemic, and then I bought Pandemic Iberia. It just changes a few things. It's set in sort of the, obviously the Iberian Peninsula in the 1900s, so 18 something or other, with things like cholera, and those sorts of diseases. But you don't have flight, because in vanilla Pandemic, you can fly around the world to try and save the,
That's right. Yeah.
But instead, you have railroads that you have to try and, structure and get across. Okay. You have to purify water. A couple of different things in that game, which for me make it probably the best version of Pandemic.
Yes.
Yeah. Outside of the legacy versions.
That was the issue with the original Pandemic for me, because I don't know if you noticed it. If you had a certain couple of characters in the game, it was pretty much done. It was beatable, if you will.
Yeah, it was like it's Pandemic. Generally, if there is a criticism of it, it's a Euro game, so which people I suppose may or may not realise, which basically means it's perfectly balanced. It's a very mathy game. So if you get the right moves at the right time with the right characters, you will win.
Yeah.
But part of the fun for me is the puzzle of that.
Yeah, of course.
And playing it at very high difficulty to make it as stressful as possible, I think is part of the enjoyment. So,
Yeah, of course.
But then, I don't know what that says about me, but that's how
You
I
like
like
stressful situations.
Yeah, that's how I like to play Pandemic. It's how I like to play all my co-op games, like super, stressful. But Legacy game, the Legacy version of Pandemic is incredible as well. I mean, I can't really say anything without spoiling it, but it is one of the best gameplay experiences I've ever had playing Pandemic Legacy from start to finish. Phenomenal. Playing over 12 games, a storyline. It feels weird because at various points in the game you'll have to tear cards up. Like
this the one?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, this is the one that's yearly or something, isn't it?
This is one where you buy it. So you buy a box, and in that box will be the Pandemic board, and you play it over a series of 12 to I think 24 games, normally 12, so once a month. Each game represents a month in the world of Pandemic. As you go through the month, there's like a story deck which you'll be triggering events, and then in the box, the Legacy box, there's things that you'll open depending on what's happened in the world. So if a certain city like outbreaks, the first outbreak, you'll open this box, and then something might happen to that city. So sometimes, again, minor spoilers, an entire city might be completely destroyed and removed from the map.
Wow.
And other crazy stuff that will happen. And again, one of the most cinematic gameplay experiences, and I would 100% recommend anyone that if you're interested in Pandemic or co-op games, buy Pandemic.
Because I'd heard the rumours that it was spread out like over a year, like you said, and I was like, I'm not too sure if that's daunting or if I can't get people here once a month to play it.
Yeah, you can play it over a couple of weeks and play all the games.
Of course,
That's what I think.
How long roughly is a game?
Of Pandemic, within an hour.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
at least,
yeah, you get about an hour's worth. So each game.
So I'm just thinking it's not like a 3-4 hour game that's going to take all night to do.
No.
I suppose it depends on how you talk to one another and how you sort things out, I guess. Yeah. But I remember Iberia, you could up the game or something. You could make it harder. Or?
You can make it, with any edition of Pandemic, you can probably add more or less epidemics to make it more difficult.
That's what.
But I think any game of Pandemic shouldn't really take longer than an hour. Yeah, and a bit. It's just how it's designed. It's very tight. Anyway, I'll be chatting about Pandemic forever. I'll stop. It's classic.
So, you want one?
Yeah, go.
My number 5 is Small World.
Great game.
Never heard of it.
Never heard it? Oh, it's kind of.
Tell me.
Is it Days of Wonder? I can't remember. Anyway.
There's so the basic one I introduced this about 4 or 5 years ago now, I think, to James. It's kind of like Risk. So there's a map with areas on.
It's like an area control game, essentially.
Yeah. But you have different species of. So you've got sort of different species of people. So you've got like Amazons, orcs, dwarfs, giants, wizards, and then you also have sort of a little tile next to it which you have different powers on. So it could be like, I don't know, like flying, so you can go anywhere on the map. You can have, I'm trying to think of some other ones now, like bonus gold if you're in forest area, etc., etc. And they randomly get pulled out. And you basically, the idea is you have to, the more area you own, the more gold you get each turn.
Yeah.
And you basically have to go on and basically try and take as much land as possible while taking someone else out. And the clever thing I loved about it the most is it's different every time because you've got different combinations of creatures and powers. But then also, at some point in the game, you can go into decline.
Yeah.
Okay.
So your species dies off. So you turn all the tiles over, so that species is dead. So you say you've got 5 bits of land with that on, that's now gone. But then you can buy another species and then bring it out that way. And it's very... Well, I know it was from me playing it loads and loads of times now. It's very difficult the right time to go into decline, because when you go into decline, that you miss a whole turnout. So to try and pick the best moment to go into decline, and then pick a new race, or if you're just going to stay with the same race for the whole game.
Okay.
Very, very clever game, and I love the difference every single time. It's not like, oh, definitely I'm different doing this every time, because this is it's always different.
Okay.
Yeah, and it is, in fact, is Days of Wonder. So as said, so that is also the same company that did Shadows Over Camelot and Ticket to Ride and Memoir 44.
Cool.
Everything that they bring out is amazing. I think they released like but they barely release anything. It's like one game every couple of years. But
Yeah.
when they do, it's a stone cold classic.
Yeah, because they've done a few expansions for the game now as well, where you can build like a sort of sky islands on top of the map and stuff. And, and also you got
Nice.
different boards depending on how many players. It's not just one board. So there's 2 players. There's a set board. If you're 3 players, you flip the board over. It's slightly bigger. 4 players.
And what, can you extend the board then?
Yeah, well,
or-
it's sort of so 1 to 4 players. No, so 2 to 5 players or 4 players.
2 to 5, yeah.
Yeah, it's different boards, and there's also expansions. Then there's this sort of air one where you've got like sky cities that you can go on at certain places. And it's just such. I mean, the art is beautiful, the design's beautiful, and it's just a clever way of being able to sort of take very competitive, taking each other down. Sometimes you can be like, well, this guy's like, say for instance, like you, Anthony, you've got like crap loads of gold.
Okay.
So me and Wayne can be like, oh, do you want to just take him out a little bit, and then
Steal my gold.
and then realize being like, wait, but no, and then yeah, it's just a very clever way to play it, and it's just, the basic premise of it is whoever has the most gold at the end wins.
Okay.
That's it. That's literally it. So yeah,
I've only played it a couple of times, and I remember I did really thoroughly enjoy it. Where would you rate the complexity level of that game? Because I thought it was quite easy to learn. I mean, it wasn't over.
yeah, no, yeah. I think that I got the hang of it after about the 3rd time we played it, and it only takes about, I say, an hour a game, depending on how many people are playing.
It's in that sweet spot. It's nice, fairly easy to learn. Plays in about an hour. Easy to set up.
Yeah, once you get, so you can.
It sounds like it goes on for longer than an hour, though. The way you were just describing it, though.
Well, yeah, no, because the lands are that big. There's 10 rounds, so there's a set number of rounds to go through. So you'll go around one round, and depending on how many players are, but I think the maximum is 10 rounds. So those 10 rounds can go quite quickly, or they can go quite, depending how long people take to think about what they're doing.
Right.
But it's, yeah, I mean, like, we'll bring it out next time. You come around.
Do you know what, again? Like, Days One, it's a stone cold classic already, and I would love to play it again. Actually,
Yeah.
I haven't now. Because that was one of the first games I actually played once.
Oh, really?
Hobby,
Yeah.
but I never bought it. But I think now, after sort of 10 years into it, I think going back to it would be more sort of eye opening. Because I love an area control game. It's one of my favourite sort of mechanisms.
Yeah, man.
Cool.
Look forward to giving that a go.
Yeah.
Add that to the list with the train one as well. What's it called again?
Cult Express.
Cult Express,
Is
that's
that
it.
one? Yeah.
Yeah, so my number 5 is a you could say it's a bluffing game, but it's a card game called Sheriff of Nottingham.
Ooh.
And I really enjoy this game. I mean, I picked this up just before lockdown, and I was going to show it to a bunch of mates, and then obviously lockdown happened. So I spent the whole lockdown trying to learn it. And it's an easy game to learn, but again, I don't want to play it at the time of it. So
Play it by yourself.
That's it, yeah, pretty much. But no, I got my wife and kids into it, and we were just having such a laugh of it. And again, it's just, I love how not only do you have to bluff the sheriff as well, but then someone else can come in and bribe the sheriff. Like I could say, here, take 5 coin, but then someone else will go, hang about, take 6, I'll open that bag. You know, just absolutely love it. And it's I have a fun time with it all the time. It's I wish I'd got to know it a lot sooner.
Yeah,
Because it's one of those games that's been out for quite a while now. Sheriff of Nottingham, I believe.
Sheriff of Nottingham has, and it's changed hands from publisher. It's now owned by Come On.
Okay, yeah.
Beforehand, it was a Dice Tower Essential game. And that is a fantastically fun game.
Yeah,
Sheriff of
absolutely.
Nottingham. Do you know what? There is nothing. I love being the sheriff.
Yes.
It's one of my favourite things. I think it's just, I guess I'll take a peek
Crime
unless
and
you want to.
trigger.
Yeah, crime and netly trigger.
Point that pea shooter the other way.
Yeah, just.
That's how you got kids, man. That's literally watched that film recently.
It's a classic. I love that film. One of my favourite Disney films. But no, it's amazing. My only critique of that game is there is not enough incentive to put contraband in your bag.
Yes.
There's not enough. There is an expansion which I would recommend you get.
I actually have it.
Oh, sorry. Did you mention? Sorry, I did.
No. I actually have it. Yeah, I was going to mention it, but yeah.
Yeah, no, carry on then. But it changes the game a bit, right?
Absolutely. I love the 2 sheriff part of it, and then there's I think you can smuggle merry men through as well.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. It's just I love how that adds element to it. But like you said, it's when I was playing with friends, a lot of people don't really smuggle contraband to the very last round or so, and it's a bit obvious, like you said. There's no I get where you're coming from on that part.
Yeah, it's really that's my only really critique of the game. But there was the expansion helped with that a little bit, encouraging you more to try and get contraband through because you had objectives to get them through. And there's big rewards for that. And it's hilarity. I mean, just nice simple concept as well. I'm just a weary tradesman. Please let me through, sheriff. I want to get in through into the town and sell my goods. There's nothing in here but legitimate goods.
That's it.
And then,
just 5 apples to sell my mead.
5 apples and some mead. and 9 crossbows.
And some royal apples in there, royal contraband in there.
Royal contraband. No, fantastic game experience.
Yeah, again, something I found recently, and just I have a fun time with it all the time. And again, I would crack it at any time. Yeah. That's why I had to go in the top 5. Yeah. So you're number 4, sir.
Number 4 is it actually jumped up and replaced something else, which I'll talk about later. But number 4 is now Western Legends. I absolutely fell in love with that game from the first time I played it. And I know you played it with me, Anne.
Yes.
And Stuart, you'll love this game. There's so many things to like about that particular game. It's cowboys in a box. You cannot not feel like you're in a Western or a cowboy of some sort, like in the Wild West. First and foremostly, it has individual player powers. I like that anyway. I like a little bit of asymmetry. The characters are based on real historical characters from that time period, right? From the Wild West. You know, like Annie Eaton and like all those
Billy the Kid,
Billy the Kid's in there.
White Earp and all that sort of stuff.
Clint Eastwood. Yeah. Oh wait,
I think it might be an expansion. But.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So that's all in there, and it's a sandbox experience. It's a sandbox game. All the principle is get the most victory points, or reach the victory point trigger in this case, and then the game ends. But how you achieve that is entirely up to you. You can go and rustle cattle. You can wrangle cattle. You can rob the bank if you want to. Be a bank robber. You can rob other players and rob their stuff. You can just live a life of playing poker and then spending your poker winnings at the brothel. And
nice.
You can
pay them hoes.
Pay for some girls' education.
Sounds like Red Dead Redemption, a board game.
Kind of is.
This is why I probably liked it, because again, when I asked, even though I asked to play this because it was recommended and saw that, and then when we're saying you can do this, you can do that, and then
he said you can fuck some hoes. You were like, yeah.
And I was just like, yeah, I'm sold.
That's my kind of game.
Dig for some golden nuggets. I like that.
Yeah, exactly. You can spend time just in the hills prospecting for gold, like you would in the West. You can do. Yeah, it's a fantastic experience. I mean, it's so incredibly fun. You can just be a law-making lawman. Go out there, kill the bandits,
get your bounty.
Get your bounties. Oh, wow. Exactly. You can chase down the other players that are robbing banks, or they'd be doing no good. And you can go and chase them down and send them to jail. It's a great, fun cinematic experience that has wonderful interactions of players, and it encourages that sort of messing with each other to a little bit. And it's never too punishing. It's great fun. I can't recommend.
I love the mini shop as well.
Yeah.
Shop.
Oh, now here's something that I really should mention about this game. It's a big, deep game that is super fun and amazingly interesting. It takes 10 minutes to set up, 10 minutes to put away. I mean, they really put some thought into that. Absolutely no time at all. Fantastic. Could not recommend more. So what was your experience in playing it for the first time, then?
Yeah. It took me a while with the whole, the poker side of it, because that's how you fight as well. The poker cards have abilities on it and stuff like that.
That's the most interesting thing about the game is the engine is this sort of deck of cards, essentially, is the engine of the game. They serve several functions. They are poker cards. You use them when fighting, and you also use them for magic actions, or special actions they have on the cards as well.
That's right, yeah. And then playing it along, obviously you teaching me and stuff as I was moving along, and then you were like, Annie, you can do this, and I know you can do that. And I was just like, whoa, this is... Like Stuart said, this is practically Red Dead on a board game, and I was like, now I'm sold. But again, not into westerns, but I was just sold on it. And oh crap, what was it now? The token side of it as well. Like you picked it, but you never knew how many legendary points were underneath it as well.
When you're getting your objectives.
That's right. Yeah. I kind of like that aspect to it as well, because it could essentially be just one in there, or it could be 3. Yeah. So yeah, that
you have these little story cards as well that will trigger when you're playing the game. So if you satisfy a certain condition, you put one of your markers on one of these story cards. And then if you were to trigger it, you read the back of it. Loads of flavour, some great storyline on there, normally related to the thing that you're doing, which makes it even more hilarious, like starting a bar fight or something like that. Super Western themed. And you'll normally get a benefit for that. You'll get some sort of reward. And the people that didn't contribute to it will get some sort of penalty. So that's pretty fun.
So is it like a co-op? Can be cut, or is it?
You can kind of, but it's definitely a competitive game.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, it's you'll have 2 main tracks: the martial or the sort of bound, or the wanted track.
That's it, wanted and martial track, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Right. You'll generally pick one of those 2 things, but it's absolutely a competitive experience.
Okay. But I remember we were all picking up our characters, and we were all doing like, getting into the character, and then I was Kit Carson.
It's got a list.
I'm gonna go to the shop and see some hoes.
No,
it was a
a
lot of
magic
fun.
experience, and there's an expansion out which I need to get up. Probably, I think it is on my wish list. Where it adds a train track and a train that you can go and rob.
Oh, wow.
For, like,
That's like my favourite thing to do in Red Dead. So. It's like, love robbing a train.
It adds a whole bunch of extra options. It adds another, like, a new, like a frontier area where it's just starting up that you can go and do something.
How long does it take to play?
90 minutes-ish.
Okay.
So 90 minutes to 2 hours, I think, is probably a reasonable estimate.
And how many players?
I think it's up to 5. I wouldn't recommend it with more than 4.
Okay.
You can play it 2-player. There is a sort of dummy 3rd player that acts as like the man in black that just messes with you. Works okay. Better with 3. Best at 4 because you have just the great amount of player interaction and messing with each other, but you're also not waiting ages for your turn. So
it's one of those ones where you should plan your next move ahead by your turn, really. Isn't it?
Yeah, because it's action point allowance, so you get 3 actions, and how you spend those on your turn is up to you from the variety of things that you can do in the game, such as sandbox. So it sort of behooves you to sort of think about your turn whilst other stuff is going on.
Yeah, good choice.
I was going to say, because you said there's an expansion.
There's a couple, yeah.
Have you ever? Because I've had experience with it. Have you ever got an expansion which makes the game worse?
Ooh.
Going slightly off topic with top 5.
No, carry on, please. Carry on.
I have not. No, I have not bought an expansion that has made a game worse.
Okay.
No, I've generally only. Yeah, I've been lucky, I think, in that respect. Yeah, how about yourself?
No, there's a couple that. I say it's made it worse. It's made it more complex than it needs to be. So that's something. I mean, they try and put new stuff in, but then it just makes it too. So recently the Bang, my friend bought the zombie version, and there's another expansion for it as well.
Okay.
We tried to add them into the game,
yeah,
and it made a really simple game really complicated just from adding a couple of extra things in.
I can 100% understand that.
Yeah,
for sure. So there might be some things that you love about the game, and one of those things might be the fact that it's streamlined, for example.
Yeah,
and anything that detracts from that could probably detract from your experience. Dinosaur Island we played a couple of times, and has a couple of great expansions with it. But there's also a couple more that I haven't played with that look like they definitely add another level of complexity that I don't know would be good for the game.
Yeah,
might be, might not. So I see where you're coming from, but I haven't personally experienced it yet.
Okay, cool.
Nice. Your number 4, sir?
Number 4 is. I'm hoping Wayne will know this one because James throws it down my throat all the time. But it's the one that probably got me back into gaming on a weekly basis. Is Dice Throne.
I know Dice Throne. James introduced me to that as well. Now, that is a fun game.
Yeah. That's James's favorite game ever, and I know there's a big expansion coming out next month that he's very excited about. But it's a big. I like it because it's a mixture of deck or card game and dice game in one. And you've got a lot. I think my big thing on games is variety because I keep bringing it up. But there was 6 characters in season 1, and there's about 10 in season 2, which he's got.
Okay.
And they're basically character boards with different powers and combinations of dice, depending on what you do. And you literally fight each other. You have a set number of life points, and you have a deck of cards which has different things on it. You can either up the improve your attack cards or your defense cards that you've got, or you can sort of muck other people up as well. So you can tip other people's dice or tip your dice to get
the next
combos.
one up.
Yeah. Or 6 it is another one. So basically, the best thing you can do on the game is roll 5 6s. That's your ultimate power. You does crap load of damage. You get all your special coins and stuff.
That's when you go Super Saiyan.
Yeah, and it's literally a point where you have to roll. You roll these 5 dice. It's like Yahtzee. You roll, and you can roll any number of them 2 more times to get what you want. Yeah. So I could roll all 6s, and then you'd be like, no, you're gonna have to tip that one to a 5, or change it to something else. No. And you're like, no. But then I could have a card that just 6s it again and stuff like that. It's all that combination. Then on top of that, there's some characters have these sort of special powers with little coins. So you've got a monk who's got chi. Yeah. And basically, you can collect this chi, and that means you can do more damage or defend damage and stuff like that. And you've got an angel seraph that can block attacks. You have to roll to try and block an attack, or you can come back to life if you die and stuff. It's just such variety on playing it. Like you got a cowboy or cowgirl. And when you attack, you have to draw, so you both roll a dice, and whoever gets the highest dice wins, kind of thing. Okay. It's just so much variety and fun, and it's
all from just rolling dice.
Yeah, rolling dice and throwing cards down, and it's just artwork, beautiful, and it's such a great game. And you can play 2-player, it's quite quick, or you can play 3 or 4-player. And it's just a lot of fun, and it made me fall in love with gaming properly again. And that's when we started doing weekly gaming, because of when James got Dice Throne. So
how old is it? And there's an expansion coming?
It's not that old. I think it's a couple of years, maybe 3-4 years.
Oh,
and
okay.
this expansion's been on the cards for like over a year. It's, I remember James talking about, because so the new mechanics of this again can make it a bit more complicated. It's going to be like a campaign with like bosses now. So before it's just you and other players fighting each other. You can do like two against two and stuff. This new one's got something, I can't remember the ins and outs, but it's basically a campaign. So a storyline kind of thing. And then also you can do these big bosses that you can all try and take down at the same time. So you can makes it more co-op.
Oh, wow, okay.
So it sounds really.
So at least you got the option to do that. Then.
Exactly, yeah. So it sounds really interesting. I can't wait to play this like campaign mode where you can do co-op. But
I need to play the game full stop.
you should, mate. Another one.
Yeah.
Christ, I'm such a noob between you two here.
No, but
Stop it.
I haven't played Pandemic. I'm a noob.
Yeah, we need to get you on that, definitely.
Yeah.
So my number 4 is a game that you introduced me last October. One game's night you invited me over, and that's Avalon.
Oh yes,
Absolutely love Avalon. Avalon is just a game where you showed it to me, and I was just like, I love this. I think it was it was one of the games I never ever played before. It's like bluffing as well as trying to tell the truth, but if people believe you, sort of thing. And I showed it to my guys, and we usually have a day where it's kind of like when you invite me to yours, but we do it all day, and we go through a bunch of games. And when I showed them Avalon, we played this all day. It just, the different mechanics to it, the different add-ons you can do to it. And it was also a game that kind of got me through lockdown as well. When people couldn't see one another, I actually learned how to do it at home, so we can do it over house party and whatnot.
Yeah. Oh wow, nice.
And just by simply everyone close your eyes, thumbs up, thumbs down, all that sort of stuff. And then there was something interesting I saw on the box. So on the box, there was a guy's face on it, which isn't in the game at all. It's just a random guy's face. I'm like, who is this guy? I need to look it up. And then I found out that Avalon has actually been out since 2013, I believe, 2014. And there was a Kickstarter version. And the Kickstarter version came with Lancelot, Good and Bad Lancelot, which I had to figure out what it was and what it does. And it's like, oh my God, this mechanic is incredible. This add-on.
I remember you bringing it around a while ago, and it just makes the game so much more complicated.
More complicated, but it
in
totally
a good way.
Changed the game as well. And I was just like, holy crap, I need to get hold of this. Even though I ordered it via lockdown, I had to get these cards from Canada. It cost me like $50, but man, was it worth it. And it's still playable today. It's a game I would whip out any time, and it's so much fun. I've had nearly friendships broken over this game. That bad.
It does. Yeah. I mean, like with Wayne's when it's like really easy to set up.
Yeah,
it's literally,
absolutely. Yeah,
it's literally you just give a card to each person, and that's you're that character. And there's a couple of bits to sort of say if you're going on quests or not. But the rest of it is just talking.
Yes,
it's either,
exactly.
You're either a bad guy and you're bullshitting,
and it's just trying to
or you're a good
convince
guy.
everyone.
Yeah. And you're Merlin trying to not be Merlin and be staying quiet, which is like the hardest thing to do ever. Because I remember when you played it in October, we played it quite a lot of times. Nearly every time we played it back then, I was a bad guy.
Yeah.
It was like a running joke, like, well, Stu's a bad guy again, like every single time. And recently, I've been Merlin nearly every time I've played.
But again, that's another spin I like on the game, because even if the good guys win, the bad guys can still come back and win it if they guess who Merlin is. And it's like, oh, you've made all that effort, you've nearly broke up with your mates. Yeah. But just for then to go, oh, he's Merlin, game over. And it's like, oh, what the hell was so much effort?
I think the last time we played it, when you brought Lancelot over, I think like Ross like really got pissed at me because of, I can't remember why now. I think because we lost. I was Merlin, and he was saying, you should have done this, why you can do this. Really shout of rage. Yeah. He got home, like, text me later, 20 minutes ago, I'm really sorry.
It's a deadly game. Deadly game.
I tell you what, Avalon is a staple of the social deduction genre at this point. I mean, phenomenal game. Actually preceded by a game called The Resistance, which I own, 2009.
Oh yeah, okay, there you go. Yeah.
And I have all of the expansions for the Resistance, which basically turns it into Avalon. Because they did Resistance, they did Avalon, which has the Avalon bits with Merlin, etc.
That's right.
Then they basically went back and added all that to the Resistance.
Nice.
Same thing. The world's slightly different. Sort of the theming of it is more of a cyberpunk style world, which is more me anyway. I prefer that in terms of theme.
Yeah.
But yeah, that is. You all have great friends. Literally at each other's necks, screaming at you about that game, and it's so much fun.
And you have to take the friendship out of it as well, because I could be like, especially with someone like Ross, it's like, I trust this man in my life, and he's telling me he's a good guy, but he's doing it
for the game.
Yeah, for the game. I'm like, do I?
This is it.
Do I believe you? Don't know.
I'll tell you what, it's so funny. My overarching memory of the Resistance, I just on Avalon.
Yeah.
It's basically the same
Yeah,
game,
absolutely,
with different skin. I was playing it in Prague for a friend's stag do. And I was obviously not a member of the Resistance. I was one of the bad guys, part of the corporation, I guess. And you've got that thing where you can look at someone else's card and then you tell everyone else who they are.
Yep.
And so I looked at it and it was obviously a member of the Resistance, and I was obviously told everyone that actually he's a traitor, he's a member of the corporation, and I did it with a straight face because I was bluffing the whole way through, getting everyone on my side, making sure a few missions succeed.
Yeah, and they've got to try and believe you as well, haven't
so
they?
to lure everyone into a full sense of security, you play along. You're like, oh look, I was on your team when we succeeded.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Exactly.
But when we failed, he was on the team too. So right, okay,
familiar conversations.
Yeah, for sure. Right. So that's the guy that he's definitely the one to blame. And then when I looked at his card and I said, yeah, I can promise you now, he's definitely the one. The look he gave me was like, I don't know. I told him I hated his mom. I slashed his tires. It was like he could not despise me anymore in that moment. He was ready to flip the table.
Oh, mate.
But at the end of it, so much fun. Everyone's laughing, it's just great. I mean, social deduction is not for everybody.
No.
If you are of a sensitive disposition and you don't like pure bluffing, like you are lying to someone's face, because you have to in that game.
Yeah. If you're the bad guys or Merlin, you just have to play your I'm good guy Bob, don't know anything.
That's not for everybody.
Yeah.
Right. And so if you're not,
that was one of my issues with the game, is like when you're not a specific character and you are just, like you said, I'm just Bob, you're kind of thrown into it because even you don't know anything. And yeah. So
and there's some people playing with a lot of them, you can tell when they're bluffing sometimes. I can go like a couple of my friends as tells, so they're like, no, I'm not a bad guy. Like I did a little funny wink or something. I'm like, you are a bad guy. 100%.
I have just a side recommendation for listeners. If you like the idea of it but aren't comfortable with the just barefaced lying and bluffing, a game called Deception, Murder in Hong Kong. Phenomenal game.
I've heard of this.
I have this. You should come and play it.
Please,
it's amazing. It has those same principles, but the way it's structured is you're lying, but the game forces you to, based on the mechanics. So you don't feel bad about it. You are just doing what the game is telling you to do, as opposed to literally just taking the fact that you're a bad guy and running with it, which, I'll be honest, I love it. I freaking love social deduction games so much. But I appreciate why some people might not.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that was also my number 2 on my list as well.
Oh, was it really?
Sorry.
Do you want to plug into it quickly?
No, I'll do. Just what I was saying. It's one of those games that will never get tired because again, it's different every time.
Yeah, and I just love how
when you play it. When you play it loads and loads of times in one night, it's very difficult to be like, right, last time he was a bad guy, but might not be a bad guy this time, so I can't assume he's a bad guy.
Separate game from game is difficult.
Exactly. If you play them back to back, it gets really.
There's always that. Let's go on one more time, one more round.
All right, one more time. Go on.
It has that feeling, and it's very it's again
very addictive game.
Yeah, absolute classic of the social deduction genre. Very good. If you ever played party games like Werewolf or Mafia,
I love Werewolf.
Werewolf.
Amazing.
There's a whole that game's been around forever in some guise or another, either with board game components or not. Avalon, Resistance, they take that to the next level, really.
Totally. Definitely the best. One of the best £16 I've ever spent was that game.
Yeah, cheap as chips as well. That's another point. Yeah,
absolutely, man. You're number 3, sir.
Oh, okay. This is another new entry to my list. And when I say, I remember when I messaged you, I have tiers of games. This is my top tier, and then the below tier is like just as good, but it's just I haven't played it recently.
Okay, no, that's fair.
So
that's fair. Yeah.
Is the one that jumped back into this is Dinosaur Island.
Nice.
We played it. I hadn't played it in a couple of years, and just because I play got so many games, and eventually other things replace it, and you forget about it or whatever.
So how old is it then?
It's not that old. I mean, it's 2015.
Okay, right.
2015.
I didn't think it was. I thought it was quite new then, but
I want to say 2015. I will just briefly check. No, I'm lying to you through my teeth, as if we were playing Avalon. No, it's
liar.
It's 2017. I kickstarted it. I got it when it came out. Played it a bunch that first year, put it away, and then other stuff came out because it happens. We replayed it recently a couple of times, and oh my god, so much fun was had. I mean, it went straight. We did a podcast on it on Board Stupid, and the amount of amazing, ridiculous things that had to happen for that game to exist is incredible. The neon crazy colours, the Jurassic Park inspired IP, the weird mix of dice drafting and then suddenly, no, actually you're playing a worker placement game. No, sorry, no, actually you're playing a token pulling game. No, actually, no, sorry, tell a lie, you're playing a tile laying game. They like,
That's great.
yeah, right. It's this weird, right? You've got to agree.
Absolutely.
It's this weird mishmash of things that for some reason works incredibly well. Tile drafting and a marketplace in there.
That's right. Yep.
Just amazing experience. The principle is simple. Make the best, most exciting dinosaur theme park, right? Cool, interesting, funny theme straight off the bat. How you get there is just a great journey of ridiculous mechanics and fun times. It's amazing. Because that was the first time you played. That was around mine as well, right? And we played it a couple of times.
Yeah. And it's so daunting to look at because it's so big and it's so
It's
everywhere.
It's one of the most sprawling games I own.
Yeah.
That's the one that covers your
But
table.
it was
easily.
so easy to play.
Yeah.
It's like you said there was, I think there's 4 phases. to
Four
a run.
phases, yeah.
Once that's 4 phases, first time was done, I think that was it. I was set. I knew what I was doing. I mean, I made Carnivore Island, really, didn't I?
Yeah, you did make Carnival Island. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But it was just so simple and it's quite pretty to look at. Like you said, the neon colours and everything were just.
It's bold. You definitely you haven't forgotten you played that game. It's like we said on the podcast. It's you will not forget that you've played that game. It's just such a unique, bold design and such an interesting gameplay interaction. It evokes so many memories as well, Jurassic Park and also when
Theme
everyone
park
mentions,
as well,
that's
yeah.
the thing that everyone mentioned. Everyone says it kind of feels like you're playing Theme Park, but the board game. You know, if you remembers the old PC game in the 90s.
Oh man,
that
I
game.
love that. Put all the salt in the chips so they buy lots of drinks. I know that cheat.
Yeah, so you've got a picture up there. And
I was just looking at it. Very neon, massive.
it's very nice. Yeah, it's huge amounts of stuff in the box.
Absolutely.
And what I love about that game is it's public drafting, right? So I like card drafting games where you take a card, you pass it on, and it's the hidden information, and then the other person looks at it and goes, "Ooh, I'll take that," and then you pass it on. This is public, so you have tiles out. Everyone knows what everything is. You have the dice for the DNA. Everyone knows what they are. So you draft something, and the person next to you is like, "You son of a bitch! I needed that for my park."
Yeah, you've done that to me many a times.
Stop it! Some did that to me, I think, on purpose a bunch of times. It's so much
I was
fun.
like, please
though.
don't take this. Yeah, please don't. Ah, damn it!
Yeah, and
Screw your whole plan up.
That's it.
Yeah, it's so much fun. And we talk about if the security, you have to manage the security of your park. If it's not high enough, then the dinosaurs break out and they eat your guests, which is
Amazing.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
What a mechanic.
Yeah, exactly. What a mechanic. Hilariously fun, and you'll lose victory points according to, and all that good stuff. Great game. It immediately jumped straight back into my list. Purely through, I don't know, I call it the joy factor. I could not stop smiling when we were playing the first time.
Absolutely, yeah.
And I lost horribly. The first time we played it again,
You keep getting your visitors eaten.
well, they shouldn't. They shouldn't have been sneaking around the back of the pens. That's
This
what
is
you
true.
get.
This
That's
is
true.
true.
Anyway, so I wasn't managing my security. Anyway, I did a couple of things wrong. The second time, slightly less people got eaten, but still a few.
Yeah, of course.
But even despite that, the whole 2.5 hours or so that we were playing that game were amazing. And we played the second game with the expansions that we
Yes,
ordered.
totally. Yeah.
Changed the game in enough ways to make it even better, but didn't add too much complexity.
The blueprint mechanic, I absolutely love that.
It was great, wasn't it?
It's a simple little touch, but it gave me a goal.
Yes, exactly that.
Yeah.
So it was another expansion, which I think probably could have been in the base game, where in the base game you can set out the park however you want. You don't get any bonus for that. But with the blueprints, you get a choice of basically, blueprints to how to set your park up. And if you can do that accurately, you'll get a bunch of bonus points. Nice and simple, and it added another level of interest and fun to that game. And amazing. I just love it. Really awesome game. Would thoroughly recommend.
Absolutely. There's one more little thing, but when you put your pieces on your board, there's no way you can't go no, 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 no. When you do it. There's just no way around it. It just happens.
100%. I mean, we had the Jurassic Park theme
It was
tunes
a
in the
Spotify
background.
background. It was so good.
Yeah, such
Damn
amazing.
straight.
It's perfect as well, isn't it?
It's
so
brilliant.
good.
It's
So good.
brilliant.
It's another one I had to my list to play.
Do it, mate. Honestly.
Yeah, we need a board games day, boys.
Yeah, so
Come over my
weekend.
place.
By the sounds of it.
By the sounds of it. Sure. Hey, I'm down. I'm down if you are.
Your number 3, sir.
So my number 3, one you mentioned near the beginning, but we didn't go into any detail on it, which was quite nice. But it was King of Tokyo.
Great.
Oh,
great
okay.
game.
I've never played it, so
Another modern classic.
Yeah,
Right?
is
do tell.
It's another one. I'm trying to explain. I haven't played it in a long time now, so I have to remember. But it's one of my friends brought around. He was just like, "I'll give this a go, it's great." And I was like, "It's like monsters. You got like Godzilla and some other monsters like attacking the city." And I'm like, "Really? I've never been into like the movies or anything, so it was like didn't really spark any of my interest." But when we started playing it, it's such a simple game, but so much fun, and it just changes so quickly. You basically you might have to fill in the details for me, Wayne, because I can't remember fully how to play.
Well, you essentially have it's another Yahtzee mechanic.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but you've got a monster in the city, so you can put yourself in the city, and then the people you can attack everyone, and they can attack you.
Yeah. So the principle being is if you are in the middle of Tokyo,
Yeah.
You are getting victory points every turn.
Yes.
But at the same time, everyone that's not in Tokyo is attacking you. At a point where you take damage when you're in Tokyo, you can elect to retreat, and the person that damaged you then goes into Tokyo, and then they're the king of Tokyo.
Okay.
And it's essentially either a victory point game where you're trying to get an X amount of victory points, or you're trying to murder everyone.
Yep.
One of those two things is going to be true, and if that happens, then you win the game.
Yeah.
Simple. Plays in 20 minutes, half an hour.
Yeah, it's very quick.
And amazingly fun.
It is.
One of those games that I started that really got me back into the hobby was that game, and is fantastic. There is King of New York, which is a slightly different game. Has exactly the same philosophies, but is slightly more complex. Very good. I would recommend that too. If you want a nice simple game, King of Tokyo. If you want something that's the same thing but slightly more.
Yeah, there's at least one expansion of King of Tokyo that my friend's got, which it's got sort of I don't know. It's like a big black robot dragon, and there was another one I can't remember what it was now. It's like a sphinx or something.
Okay.
But yeah, really cool.
Is it a long game?
No, I say it's 20 minutes. It's
wow.
literally like this
Half an hour,
tiny little board, and you've got these like flat monsters that are on like a little
Standees,
stand.
basically.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, right.
You just put them in and out. You
It just sounds quite epic the way you.
Yeah,
were
no,
like-
it's literally smaller than a comic book size thing.
Okay.
It's literally just some square with it, and then you go in and out, and then you get cards and stuff to add to it.
Yeah, basically you can upgrade your monster. So there's a couple
Yeah.
of things that you do. When you roll these dice, the dice will have either sort of energy on them, and you can absorb energy to then spend that energy to upgrade your monster to give him special powers,
Yeah.
like which will make him more damaging or give him more health.
Yeah,
or,
more
or
defense
whatever,
and
more
stuff
defen-
like
yeah,
that,
etc. Or you've got dice results, which is just pure damage.
Yeah.
And you can smack the other monsters about, depending on where you are. You're either in Tokyo or out of Tokyo. And there's a couple of other things as well. So the combination of that Yahtzee mechanic, the different upgrades that you can get for your monsters, and the simplicity and fun of big monsters smashing each other in Tokyo is just a smile-inducing combination.
Nice.
It's good fun. And nice and quick and easy to set up.
Yeah, you have to get me to play that, man.
Yeah, and it's list.
Exactly that. Nice. I know you're quite right.
Jesus
Another
Christ, I'm
set
writing
up
so
in
much.
5
I'm adding
minutes.
so much stuff to the list here. It's unreal.
I think it's quite cheap as well.
Yeah,
There you go.
yeah, definitely. Yeah,
Been out a long time.
it's again that's one of those games I'd stick in that bracket of you've got people that have never played board games before, put it in there with Ticket to Ride, with Pandemic. King of Tokyo is up there as well.
Nice. Yeah, it's a good choice, man.
Thank you.
Number 3. Apologies if it's in yours, but mine is Dead of Winter.
It is not in my top 5, but it is one of my favourite games of all time.
Yeah,
still,
I
and it's
friggin' love that game.
amazing. Still is.
The thing is that it was the first time I ever played it. Where did you know? Have you played it? Stu?
I haven't played this.
Oh, right.
Sounds such a new.
So think of it as it's essentially Walking Dead, isn't it? But it's not actually.
It's Walking Dead. It's the best Walking Dead game you can buy that isn't Walking Dead.
Exactly. Yeah. Absolutely. You play as a colony that have to go. You get missions. Crisis, isn't it?
You get the crises that happen every round. Yeah.
And you have your main objective as well. And obviously, as a group of guys, you go around and search like police stations or gas stations for certain items. You have to feed your colony at the same time.
Yep.
But also, in the midst of it, you could have a betrayer in your group.
Okay.
And it could be like something to bring your morale down. If you get it to 0, that's the end of the game. Or it could kill survivors or starve your colony. But sometimes you might not have a betrayer in there. And that's the beauty of it. It's like you're trying to suss people out, but at the same time, you might not actually have anyone bad in your group at the same time.
So this is something that I think Dead of Winter did better than other semi-cooperative games.
Absolutely.
Is, yes, there is a potential betrayer. But in order to win at Dead of Winter, you not only have the colony objective, which is to survive the winter, right? And survive whatever the overall thing is, the overall objective is, but you also, everybody has their own individual objective.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So it could be that you are a drug addict and that you have to hoard all of the medicine in the game, right? Or as many medicine as you can. It could be that you eventually want to get away, so you need to make sure at the end of the game you have some fuel, that you have a gun, that you have some food in your hand. So what that means is everyone is acting a little bit shady, because when the crisis comes out for the round, it might say, for the crisis, in order to make sure that you don't lose a bunch of morale this round, everyone needs to contribute some fuel. If you're sitting there with a bunch of cards in your hand, and maybe your objective at the end of the game is make sure you got 3 fuel because you need to fuel a jet to fly away somewhere. Are you sure that's not fuel, Wayne? I'm like, yeah, 100% sure. No fuel here. Everyone is acting a little bit shady, which makes makes it easier to be a betrayer in that game.
Absolutely.
So I think it does it better. It does it better because of that. Because yes, you're ostensibly working together, but everyone's being a little bit weird.
Okay, so you think it all got your own objective.
Yeah.
Anyway, okay, nice.
As well as the main objective and a crisis at the same time, every round.
And as well, someone could be an actual...
And I think it's just to clarify like the difference between, everyone's personal objective, it doesn't work directly against the colony, but the betrayers will. It will be get morale to 0.
Yeah. Okay.
Kill everybody. If morale goes to 0, all of the people that aren't betrayers lose the game. So it's this weird, delicate balance.
Absolutely.
Of trying to make sure that you look after your own interests, but you aren't being too dodgy. Because if you look like you're being too dodgy and you're not actually a betrayer, other players can vote to exile you.
Wow. Okay.
If they exile someone that isn't a betrayer, you'll lose morale.
Similar to that Camelot game, you can have a betrayer and that.
Yes, correct.
If you point at someone like you're the betrayer and they're not, then you get more black swords around the round table and stuff like that.
Exactly that.
So there's a consequence for getting it wrong.
100%.
Absolutely, yeah. And there's just so much coming at you that you have to deal with. Like, you have to deal with the waste pile. So if you've got too many cards in the waste, you have to clear it. Or if not, morale goes down. Feed your colonies and
feed your survivors.
Yep.
Exactly that.
Don't feed them. Again, morale goes down. There's just so much coming at you that you've got to deal with, as well as try and suss people out at the same time. It's brilliant. It sounds so technical, but once you play a first round of it,
you get it very quick.
Yeah, pretty much.
Cool. Yeah.
Another thing that game did very well, which I think was quite an innovation, was the crossroads mechanic.
Yes.
So basically, there's a big stack of cards, and at the beginning of your turn, the person to your left will take one of those cards, and the card will have a condition on it, and it could be, if that player moves their character to the gas station, this event happens, and it's super cool. So they're normally very cinematic, and they'll involve a choice. Like you find some guy, he comes up to you, he's got a big gash in his arm, and he's asking to come back to your colony. Do you let him or not? Right, and there'll be things, and there'll be consequences depending on what you choose. It makes the game.
There's always two options, wasn't there?
There's always two options, yeah. You can either, and some of them will involve a vote if there's people in the colony that have involved in it. Some are just, you're out in the wilderness, you got to go and decide on this. It makes the game tremendously cinematic. It turns it into a real great sort of survival horror movie.
Absolutely.
Sometimes they won't trigger. Sometimes they will trigger, and when they do, it's like, oh, what's happened? Because you'll literally stop the guy and go, oh, where did you move? Oh, you moved to the hospital. Well, guess what? This is what's going to happen to you.
Oh, wow.
And why did you move to hospital even though you knew that was going to happen?
Yeah, exactly. So it's super clever, really great mechanic. The Plaid Hat Games, who published that, they used that mechanic, the crossroad mechanic, in a couple of games since, which I haven't played. One's a sci-fi game, and I think one is a sort of Pirates-based game. I'm pretty sure Pirates game. And I would really like to see how it works in those sort of games with different mechanics. And also, the designer of Dead of Winter, or one of the designers, also designed Wasteland Express Delivery Service, one of my favourite games.
Oh, I need to play that as well.
And he also designed Dinosaur Island.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
Yep, same designer.
Incredible.
Yep, Jonathan Gilmour.
Ah, see? But there's one more thing in this game that you will really hate, and it's called an exposure die.
Oh,
that thing is a bastard.
Exposure die.
The exposure die. It's the meanest dice in board gaming, I've decided. It's basically...
all board games.
I didn't even decide it. It's a fact. You can't argue with
True,
facts.
absolutely.
So, it's basically a D12. It's 12-sided dice. Whenever you move between locations, because it's the dead of winter, you roll this exposure dice. On some of the results, nothing will happen to you. On some of the results, you'll take a wound because it's dangerous going from place to place without the colony. Sometimes you'll get frostbite, which is terrible because that will wound you every round until you die.
That's right.
Wow.
Or sometimes one of those faces, it's only 1 in 12,
it's 1, yeah,
kills your character outright.
You have to roll it every time you move.
Every time you move between places, yeah.
Move or attack a zombie.
Or attack a zombie, or, because you're melee attacking it, unless you shoot it. But there's
right.
ways that you can mitigate it with fuel and things but you're burning resources to then... It's a nice, clever... And you think, well, 1 in 12, that's not too bad. I swear to God, that dice it's weighted to that thing. It's an absolute bastard.
Absolute bastard, that dice.
Yeah.
But get you to play it, man.
Yeah, definitely.
Bring around yours one time or something. Give it
really,
a go.
really cool. Thoroughly recommended.
So your number... We're down to the final 2, sir. What's your number 2?
Number 2 for me is, and I've banged on about it a lot, a Kickstarter behemoth, fairly recent... is at first glance a war game, but is actually an economy game. Any ideas?
No.
No, go on.
Okay, it's all right. No, that is Scythe.
Oh, okay.
Scythe is something that I didn't know when it first came out, I missed the Kickstarter. I missed that train, to be honest with you, and it was a real shame because I bought it within the last year, and I fell in love with it. There's something about that game which really speaks to me. I talk about this term a lot on the show. We talk about efficiency puzzles. I like a game that ticks those boxes where you're trying to make the most of whatever resource you might have. So what's the most resource efficient move I can make on my turn? It allows you to be tactical, so I can quickly maneuver and change my decisions and hope it doesn't affect my long-term strategy. Scythe Hits has that in spades. It's a phenomenal game. You look at it and it has this sort of Eastern European oppressive theme with these big war mechs that stomp around the landscape. And you think, oh, that's going to be like a area control war game. Kind of is. It's more of a Cold War game where the threat of combat is worse than combat itself, or it can be. You're trying to generate a bunch of resources to try and get your engine going. So you upgrade your city-state to help get more resources, to help fund more things, which will then make your city-state better and so on and so forth, till your engine gets bigger and bigger and bigger, with the end goal being to essentially have the most money at the end, or most victory points at the end, through a combination of resources, through achieving objectives, and the game will lay out to you, for example, winning a battle or doing something else, and pure area control. So you have these hexes that you have to control. And it's fantastic. Just something about that game is so beautifully, elegantly designed. I mean, it looks like a sort of Ameritrashy war game, but it's not. It's a Euro at heart. It's just so sublime. I can't speak highly enough about it. It's a great game.
Have you played this?
No,
I've never played it. I know of it, but I've just never ever played it. I knew it's on there with in the board game community, but this sounds really good. It's
you guys. You have to come and play it. It's something about it. I mean, I've probably overhyped it at this point, but what I love about the design is you do one thing on your turn.
Yeah,
you move your pawn to one part of your sort of player board, and you then do the action that it tells you. Nice and simple. You then, on your next turn, have to move it to another section. You can't do the same action twice. And you only have 4 things to pick from. And just through that simple choice of 4 things, it generates so much tactical interest and intrigue. And here's the thing about it. When you generate resources for the game, if you don't spend them, they're persistent on the board. They're not off the board in front of you. They are on the board, and your units carry those resources about.
Okay.
If you ever leave them, there's nothing to stop another player just coming in and claiming them.
Oh, okay.
So if they then go into that hex and you've left a bunch of resources there, guess whose they are now? They're theirs to spend.
Gotcha.
And, you know, if you have combat, you win, you can then take over any resources that were there. Just a phenomenal game. It's just beautifully designed. I can't speak highly enough of it. It's Stonemaier Games. Jamie Stegmaier is the designer, also the designer of the absolute smash hit Wingspan. Or I think the owner of the publishing company that has published that.
Okay.
Another phenomenal smash hit. He also designed and published Charterstone, another smash hit, and also Viticulture. This guy can't not win. He is just churning out nothing but gold at this point in time, and definitely something to watch out for.
And has he done the expansion as well? He's done
all the expansions, and his design philosophy just seems great. I would thoroughly recommend just keeping an eye on whatever Stonemaier Games are doing.
I think we've just found out what next board game night is.
Yeah, come around and play some Scythe for sure.
Cannot wait, man.
Cool.
That's my number 1. So number 2, sorry. So
yep. So my number 2 was Avalon, so we already discussed that.
So we go straight to my 2. Yeah. My number 2 is a game that I was very, very excited to play because I stupidly missed the Kickstarter, but then again, I never knew what Kickstarter was at the time. And when Simon announced a certain person had it, my dick seriously got super hard. It was unreal. and that is Nemesis. Nemesis is just fucking phenomenal. It was one of those games that was so overhyped, but was worth the hype. And I say how much I hate the exposure dice. I hate the noise dice in that game.
Oh, the noise dice is another one.
This is another one there. But again, it's one of those ones that's very in depth with setting up and whatnot.
Yeah.
But it's so worth it.
It's worth the effort.
Absolutely worth it. The characters, the miniatures, the boards, the room tiles, the slime tokens, everything about it, man, is just what I wanted to get. I'm such a sci-fi horror fan.
Yeah.
And then when it was there in front of me, and then we were picking characters and whatnot, and even though I was just saying, like, I'm Isaac Clarke, if you ever played Dead Space, you know who Isaac Clarke is. It's just everything I wanted. Just like, I was in that room, and then you were teaching me at the same time as I found the nest, and you were like, now you're covered in slime. what are you going to do? He's like, well, what do I do?
What
can I do? I'm a dead man, really, very much. But then the mechanics with the, we were saying about if you want to co-op or your objective, you can choose, can't you?
You basically get dealt two objectives of the game. One's going to be a corporate objective, one's a personal objective. One might be more sort of easygoing and more like, okay, just get the ship home in one
doable.
piece. Yeah, one might be make sure player 3 doesn't survive. Seriously.
Wow. Yeah. But you can choose, and they're not exactly the best decision either. One could be like change the coordinates, and then, like you say, make sure you survive, but player number 3 has to die. The enemy bag as well. I freaking hate that thing.
It's
so
awful, isn't
much.
it?
It's like, because you literally have a what you call an intruder phase, and then you have to pick in the bag what your next enemy is going to be. It could be a brawler or a queen, or
the breeder, the queen, the adult. It's it's the best Alien board game that isn't the Alien IP.
Yes, absolutely.
It was made by people that obviously have a love for that franchise, and I can see. I was about to ask you, what is it about that game that makes it number 1 for you? And I think you probably sort
number 2.
So what is it about that game that makes it number 2 so high up for you? And it's probably just that. How the theme speaks to you. Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah. It's just like, I'm a big fan of the Alien series. We haven't really had, like you said, an Alien game, board game wise, that has done it justice. And then when I saw this, I think it was back in January, it was released, and I couldn't get hold of it. Although it was either overpriced or out of print, like you said. And then when Simon just told me, you do realise Wayne's got it, mate, he what? Get him on the phone. I'm gonna go play this right now.
I will suck his dick.
Yeah, I was literally like, I'll have that. I'll have some of that.
Yeah, the blow was good.
Yeah, and oh, thank you. But yeah, it's everything I want from it. I love how, you've got an engine room, you've got a generator room, and you've got escape pods. You can lock doors, and it just has the characters themselves as well. How they have
an individual deck with its own powers in it.
Yeah, and how you can get certain items, but you have to go to certain rooms to get it as well. It's just incredible. Even the guy in the wheelchair, he looks like he's not going to survive, but he can do
some crazy stuff,
exactly.
like hacking into the computers and stuff like that. There's so much about that game to like. I mean, it tries to simulate a lot of things, and I will say, for at least a critique of that game is, it simulates many things to the point of complexity where it could be streamlined. There's a couple of mechanics in the game which feel like either bolted on or unnecessary. Like the crafting mechanic, you can craft things in the game, but rarely does anyone do it. There's no real incentive to. It sort of is there for no other reason than just being there. But the cinematic experience that game can give you with people that buy into the theme is otherworldly. It's so good. It's a big sprawling epic that makes you feel terrified at every turn. It's another game which deals well with that sense of ever increasing threat, like how Pandemic does to some extent. It takes that and it goes ahead. So whereas Pandemic, you have this sort of epidemic cards, which makes the cubes, and the cubes will get worse and worse, and they'll get spread around the board, and they'll end your game essentially. In Nemesis, it's noise. So where is the noise on the ship coming from? And as you're traveling through the ship, more and more noise tokens get placed down on the ship. And should any corridor have more than one noise token in it, you trigger an alien that's going to come and say hello to you. And this isn't an action go blast the aliens game. These things will kill you. So it's a great experience.
Run away and get
coming out of the goddamn walls. Let's get them.
Yeah, it's run your ass away from these things until you can maybe try and work out their weaknesses. There's so much in this game to like.
Absolutely, yeah.
And let's not lie, it's a heavyweight game, both more.
Yes.
And, it's
long as well.
It's rules complexity, it's length, it's a good 3 hours, it's a night's worth of game. But it's, like you said, it's worth the effort.
Absolutely.
It's an absolute blast to play that game.
Yeah. And I'm so looking forward to trying the add-ons as well. It's like what you were telling me about the new, like a different alien breed, and
there's the void eaters, and then we have the aftermath.
Just the lore he was telling me about these void eaters, like they're not actually there. They're interdimensional, and they make you go insane.
There's an insanity mechanic. Yeah,
oh, wow,
it's super cool.
So, dude, it's oh my
god. You basically take the old models out and you add the expansion aliens in, and they're these weird, creepy, again, sort of psionic aliens that are creepy. And then they add another mechanic in. There is an aftermath expansion where after you play the game, you can add another board to it, and you pick different characters that are there to investigate the aftermath of what happened on the ship
of that game.
So exactly.
Oh wow,
which you can play the next night or directly afterwards to extend the game length, which I think is a great idea.
That is genius.
It's such a cool idea. Right?
That's literally so. whatever happened in the game you just played, you could then go and investigate. That'd be different every time.
Exactly.
Dude, when
that.
I played it the first time and he told me about that, I was like, well, you're going to get it out or what?
We've still
Another
got
3
time.
hours, let's do
We've
this.
still got time, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. No, there's really so much to like about that game, and I played that last night, as a matter of fact.
Yeah,
we had people over, and it was great. And I, for the first time actually in that game, so I'm normally fairly like benevolent in that game. I was like, no, I picked the objective, which was you're the only survivor.
No way.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, for sure. And we actually unlocked we discovered the engine control room, where a character can go into that room, spend a couple of action cards, and check the status of the engines. Because the generic objective is get the ship home in one piece. So that means 2 out of the 3 engines have to be working, and the coordinates have to be pointing to Earth.
Yep.
Right, and the ship doesn't blow up or whatever on the way. So he checks the status of the engines. Okay, 2 out of 3 of them are broken. Right, so we need one of them to be fixed in order to get us home. So I'm like, oh, don't you worry, guys, I'll go sort that out. So off I go down to the back of the engine bay to try and fix one, in inverted commas. I spend the 2 action cards as if I fixed it. I pick up the 2 engine tokens. I put them back exactly where they were because the one of them.
I was going to say, did you break the third one?
No. I pretended I fixed it.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. So you think, okay, well, that's quite obvious, Wayne. Of course you would do that. You're trying to kill everybody. Fine. Ben went down to one of the other engines to try and fix it. And I was like, well, bollocks, if he fixes it, that's still 2 out of 3 fixed.
Damn it.
So I was like, Ben, why would you waste your time going down there? You're the soldier. It's going to cost you like 2 or 3 cars to go and do it.
Oh.
Why don't you go back that way and do something else? And do you know what, Wayne? That's a great idea.
You Jedi mind tricked him.
Yeah, you've sorted the engines. There's nothing to worry about. You're quite right, Ben. I was like,
He forgot.
You Avalon
he forgot,
piece of shit.
yeah.
here's the thing.
I was going to say, you forgot you weren't Nice Wayne. You were playing a character.
Yeah, exactly.
You just assumed you were being Nice Wayne.
Oh no, I was being a douchebag. No, here's the thing. At the end of the game, I was contaminated and I didn't
no
win
way.
because the ship blew up, obviously, because the engines were fucked. I got away in the escape pod, so I waited till everyone hibernated.
It's an escape pod as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Hey,
there's
it's
escape
It's
pods.
everything, dude. Contamination card.
Everything.
Wait till you
Here's
hear
the
about the
thing.
contamination cards.
Yeah, so in terms of the escape pods, they only open under 2 circumstances. Either you find a key for one, unlikely, or you set the ship to self-destruct, and eventually the escape pods will open. It's the only reasons they'll do that. So I was like, I couldn't find a key. Fuck it, I'll wait around a little bit. I'll like help out until everyone clears out the aliens and then goes and hibernates in the hibernation chamber. If you do that before the game ends, and then assuming you're going back to Earth, you're fine.
Yeah.
Everyone hibernated. I then set the ship to self-destruct.
So when you're in hibernation, you can't get out.
Nope. That's the game end for you. You only go into hibernation when you've finished all your objectives, like you did.
Yeah,
and then the ship broke up.
Yep.
So
And I was infected.
Yeah, and so I waited. Everyone got back into hibernation. I set the ship to self-destruct. Everyone's screwing at this point because they can't stop me. I'm just running around the ship trying to avoid a massive amount of aliens that were in the ship trying to kill me. Almost died a few times. Got a few slashes. Got contaminated a few times. Got to the because when you get hit, you normally get contaminated. Got to the escape pod. Finally, ejected myself. I was like, I'm safe. And then, just like the scene from Aliens, as I'm like smoking a joint at the end in my escape pod, the alien bursts out of my chest, and I lost because I didn't clear the contamination.
Oh, no.
And and there's a chance, not guaranteed, but there's a chance that those contamination cards will happen.
Yeah.
To you. And it happened, and everyone laughed because they were like,
Screw you.
They were so angry with me, and then they were like so happy that I died. I was like, totally worth
But the
it.
ship blew up anyway in the end,
Ship
didn't
blew
it?
up
So
anyway.
no one actually won in the end, did they?
Mate,
No.
welcome to the Nemesis.
This is it.
Welcome to
The
the
Dark
Nemesis.
Souls of board games. You're going to die.
Nice.
Welcome to the Nemesis, and you'll have a laugh.
A lot of fun.
Sounds awesome.
You're number 1, sir. We're down to number 1. Let's do this.
Yes, my number 1. You've played that, and I think you could probably tell me what it is.
Oh.
Come On Games.
Oh,
The second one of the trilogy, set in mythological ancient Japan. It is
Rising Sun.
Rising Sun. So, all of those things that we talked about briefly, I'm just going to expand upon a couple of things I like about that game.
I knew you said it was your favourite. I didn't think it'd be number 1.
It's my favourite game of all
Damn.
time. Yeah, for
Okay.
sure. There's no game I like more than Rising Sun. There's a few reasons for that. I love the area control of it, but I love how it blends area control with that diplomacy, political side of it. How everything is kind of negotiable. And if you really play into that, it can really add another level to the game. You don't have to, but I'd encourage anyone that plays that game to really lean into that and negotiate everything. Oh, you want to marshal your troops into this land? Well, how about I give you a couple of Ronin and some gold that you don't do that, or maybe go the other direction? Or what, he's your ally and you don't want to backstab him? Well, how about, okay, fine, he's your ally this round, but maybe next season we ally and we can, do a couple of things together. that combined with the area control, combined with the combat, which here's where Rising Sun gets a bit iffy for some people. They love the game, but they don't like the combat. The combat is a blind bidding mechanic. Where you bid behind a screen on the action that you want to take, and then you both reveal at the same time, and then you resolve those effects. Phenomenal. I love that because there is that sort of poker element.
Yes.
Where you have this, well, what's he going to bid on? Is it going to affect me in some way? Can I somehow work out the balance of this battle to swing it in my favour? And it's just an amazing, because you're not just playing the mechanics, you're playing the other person on the other side of the table. It has that poker feel. And just everything I like you know, you said about how Nemesis speaks to you with a theme. Rising Sun speaks to me with that theme.
Okay, yeah.
I love that mythological ancient Japan. It's something that's interested me for a while anyway, since I was a kid. And the big monsters and the minis that you get in that game, it's just a phenomenal experience from start to finish. And again, it blends mechanics seamlessly. Like we talked about, the great thing about Dinosaur Island is suddenly from this to this to this to this. Yeah, well, Rising Sun is a political diplomacy game to an area control war game to a blind bidding game. And it blends it brilliantly. It's an epic. It's a good 2 to 3 hours long.
But it's so worth it.
It's so worth it. It's phenomenal. It's gorgeous to look at. I cannot say more enough about it, but I will quite happily admit it's not for everyone. Simon, for example, doesn't particularly enjoy playing that game.
Even though he wasn't a fan of it playing it, but somehow he won. It's just...
Yeah, well, that's the thing about it. I mean, he picked up a few things that worked for him and it synergized really well, and I didn't capitalise on the things that I should have capitalised on. So, but for him, he still appreciates the design of the game.
Absolutely,
He
yeah.
likes it and thinks it's an amazing design, and I think that's what it is. It's a phenomenal design. It's beautiful artwork. It's just...
Do you think you have to be in the right frame of mind for that sort of game?
You kind of do. So I don't think I've played too many social deduction games for Simon, but I feel like he might feel the same way about those, just because of the nature of how that is done, where you're not playing the mechanics, right, in those games. Not really. You're playing the players. The mechanics are a side note. That's not the case in Rising Sun, but the diplomacy side of it is quite heavy. You are doing a lot of negotiation and war strategizing and stuff like that. But I can't get enough of that game. It's just something about it really speaks to me that, you know, some things just tick those boxes in your mind where you go, yeah, that's a bit of me. That's one of those.
You talking about the poker side of it as well. For me, that was the most intense part of the game.
Yeah, it's so intense, isn't it? It's like, you're sweating thinking, well, how much money? You need to save money for the next, because you spend money in that battle. Any money that you spend, you might not get back for the next battle. So if you're in a bunch of battles that season, you need to make sure you manage your economy right. And yeah, it's stressful. The other guy, like, what's he going to bet? And
this is it. And before you do it, you have to declare how much money you have. So at one point, Wayne had 23 coin and I had 8.
Yeah.
So like, how the fuck do I beat this guy?
You have to like take some losses to win the war.
Yeah.
Sometimes you do, yeah. You really
but sometimes it works in your favour to
lose.
To lose on purpose, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. There are, and exactly. That's another great thing about this game. There's strategies for everything. You can upgrade your clan. Each clan, there's another thing I didn't mention. You know how I talked about how I like asymmetry in games and sort of individual player powers. Each clan has a completely game-breaking, ridiculous power.
Totally.
Where you're playing and you're looking at the guy next to you going, how the fuck is that fair that you can do that? And he is thinking exactly the same thing about your clan.
Yeah.
Like, he's like, but it still works brilliantly with the balance. I think it's amazing. Like, Chris could like fly his clan anywhere around the board.
That's right,
he wasn't bound by movement rules, right? That's totally game breaking. And then when it comes to war, for me, my Ronin and my coins are the same thing. So I've built up this massive amount of coinage that I can spend in war. People are like, how is that fair? And then either yourself or is it Simon has got these giant turtle fortresses.
That was me, Turtle Clan.
And it's like, why is that fair that your fortresses are also forced that can move around?
I wonder why you chose that one.
I was given it.
Okay. You go like turtles in a half shell.
But I absolutely love, is it train phase? Which is
the train mandate, so you can go and upgrade your clan, yeah.
Yeah, so literally you have a section where you can buy upgrades and buy monsters or gods at some point, I think, as well, is it? When we got to winter season, right, and he saved it for last, and he's right bastard saving it for last, but he dug out Godzilla, pretty much.
Oh, wow.
And it was like, holy crap. It's like, I so wanted it, but it's one of those games like Dinosaur Island where if you're...
The player order
exactly,
the picker,
And Simon got it. I was like, ah!
And it was so ridiculous. It's like 5 force that comes in out of the sea.
Man. That's it. Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, it's just fantastic.
Sorry, I was looking on Google.
Yeah, so I don't know. The game is split up into so many amazing parts. The component quality is top notch. if you like diplomacy and you like area control wargaming and you like the added level of not just the great mechanics but also playing the other players at a table, I can't recommend it enough.
Yeah,
all wrapped up in a very interesting, great theme.
I was just very shocked that it just got me into it. It's not a game I was ever into or thought I would ever give a chance, but you know, I think the aspect of it is me trying to teach me how to do it. If I can learn it easily enough, I will play it. And Rising Sun, apart from maybe the bidding system and part was a bit...
That's the sticky bit for most people.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
Apart from that, it was just like, once the first season was done, it's like, I've kind of got this in hand now. I kind of get... I think moving sometimes was a bit of a mishmash for me, but apart from that, I was just...
Would you play it again?
Totally.
Yeah.
In a heartbeat.
Yeah.
In a heartbeat, but not Tailplaying.
So when you say seasons, you have to play like 4 rounds?
Spring, summer and winter?
Spring, summer and autumn, and then winter is scoring. So here's what happens. Every single season you'll do these things. You'll do a diplomacy phase, which is to pick these political mandate tiles. You and your ally, because you have an alliance potentially, you negotiate your alliances, will pick the tile that you and him want to get the benefit of. You play it, and you enact it. The next player then does the same thing, etc., etc. If you're not in an alliance, then you don't get the benefit when your ally play something. So it behooves you to do something, to be in an alliance, at least at first. And another great thing about this game, when you play a political mandate, everyone gets to do something. It's not like I do my turn, no one does anything, and does his turn. I play a mandate, everyone gets to do a thing. But I'll get a bonus thing because I was the person to play it. And my ally will get a bonus thing because he's my ally.
Right, okay.
So you'll do that political phase. You'll then go to, there are gods that you'll worship and you'll get benefits for those. Anyway, you do the gods phase, then you'll go and do a war phase, then that's that season. And then you'll do the same thing in summer, and then you'll do the same thing in winter. Those 3
But then
phases.
your shop will respawn with new stuff every season as well. So you'll get new monsters, new end of war phases and stuff.
So as you're doing the train political mandate, you'll pick the upgrade for your clan. It could be a monster, it could be an ability. Those upgrades get exponentially more powerful each season. So at the end of spring, you wipe away all the old ones and replace them with the summer upgrades, and they're all crazy. At the end of summer, you take those away, and then the winter ones are like next level nuts. And so by the end of
Godzilla,
for example,
and then by the end of that season, you've got all of your figures on the board, all of your clan figures, all of your monsters, and it is chaos. There is war everywhere, and it's so much fun. It's so intense. I can't shout enough about that game.
Definitely one I'd love to see painted. All those miniatures done would just be incredible.
For sure. Another game, Eric Lang, genius. Love that man.
Very good pick, sir.
Cool.
Stuart, number 1, sir. All-time favourites.
So going on themes and stuff you're into, guess what my one is?
Powering?
No.
Superheroes?
No.
Is it one we talked about earlier or no?
No. There's a game. To be fair, the one that I'm going to be getting in December is going to be number 1 because I already know about it. But the IDW who are doing that brought out a few years ago another Batman the Animated Series game called Gotham Under Siege.
Okay.
Which, just because it's Batman, it's number 1, but it's actually a really good game as well. So you basically it's a total co-op game. You have the city, you have 9 3D buildings, which is Gotham City, with tiles underneath. And there's 4 rounds to play through, or acts, to play through. And you are either Batman, Robin, Batgirl, Commissioner Gordon, or Catwoman.
Okay.
And just, so you can move, basically each side of the city is a battlefield, so it's north, south, east, west, and then you have the rooftops. And it's a mixture of fighting bad guys in battlefields, as well as trying to clear up these sort of story objectives at the same time. So you have like an act saying, in this sort of, like, the first one's like Scarecrow usually, so in this is, and you'll have these, like, depending on how many players there is, there'll be like, say, 5 story cards that you have to put dice on to get rid of.
Okay.
And then you also have to put dice on your character card to activate powers as well. So it's literally you roll 5 dice, and you can pick one of those dice each turn.
Okay.
All of you do it at the same time.
Nice.
And it's just a really clever game. And the basic premise of it is to not let Gotham City get destroyed.
I was going to say, what's the outcome for it?
So if you don't do one of these story cards, it could be one of these things says, roll a dice if you get 1 or 2, blow up a building, and you turn these buildings over, and then you can get casualties and fires and stuff. And if you've got to try and stop all that getting to 0. And it's just a lot of fun to play.
How many players?
It's up to 5.
Okay.
So you can be, say, Batman, Robin, Batgirl, Commissioner Gordon, or Catwoman.
Nice.
And each character has its own sort of powers they can use as well. And then if you get hit or you get hit by a building, you can turn the card over and you're wounded.
Okay.
And there's only certain dice combination that can get you unwounded. And if you are wounded and get hit again, everyone loses the game. So no one can die.
Nice.
And so yeah, so it's first rounds.
So is it co-op or?
Yeah, massive co-op, massive co-op. You have to definitely work together and be like, right, well, I can do this much damage on this battlefield, but also only certain fights you do can move you to battlefields.
Okay.
So you can't just go, I'm going to go over here and do this. If you're on this battlefield and you don't roll anything that can make you move, you're kind of stuck unless someone can help you or pull you over.
Right.
And they then brought out an expansion called Mastermind Mayhem as well, which added a few more extra mechanics to it, where you had like two, so that there's masterminds on each city. So like you had Two-Face, for example. You fight him, you take down his points, and then you flip a coin, and if it's like the clean side, he's gone. If it's the dirty side, he moves to the next battlefield. You have to start again.
Okay.
The Riddler has these little puzzles on each battlefield, and you have to
solve them.
Yeah, no, you have to sort of roll dice, and it'll be something like, I don't know, 8. And that's how much life he's got. And then you have to go around and get in each tile has a 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5 on it.
Okay.
You have to hit these for 2 points each to add up to at least 8 and stuff like that. And then Poison Ivy has these 2 plant creatures that protects lots of stuff like that. And then you have
it's quite in depth.
It's loads of stuff, and it's simple but complex at the same time. And it's just, I mean, again, this game that's coming out in December is going to be much better. But this
much better,
much better, because the amount of stuff is going. But the actual mechanics of it, I just love it's literally just you're rolling dice. And you have to just work out what's best to do on that turn.
Is it easy to pick up? Or?
Yeah. It's probably easy to pick up. And it's actually, so it'd be like, right, I'm going to attack bad guys, but we need to get rid of this story. So okay, I'll do that, and then right, roll again. All right, well now I can do some battle damage and stuff like that. And you also have another thing. You have then sort of upgrade cards as well, which you shuffle, and then you turn 2 over and you pick one each round. So it could be that you and one other player gets an extra dice this turn, or you do 5 extra damage if you're on the rooftops and things like that. So yeah, just change it each time. It's really good. Nice. And it looks great as well.
Well, IDW they published Machikoro, which is another sort of modern classic at this point.
Yeah.
They've also published Yido and Fire and Axe Viking Saga, which are 2 games that I've been quite interested in playing for a long time.
Yeah, they've done a Turtles game as well.
They have done a
So yeah, I've seen that recently. But I've heard mixed stuff about the Turtles one.
They've also done a Back to the Future game, apparently, although I'm not.
Oh really? Well, recent or?
Couldn't tell you, but I know that.
That might be the other one I was telling you about. Because they released 2, didn't they, recently?
Yes,
so that might be the case.
Yeah, I've got another. It's not going to be in my top 5 because it's not quite as good. But there's one called Rogues Gallery where you play as the bad guys. You can go try and defeat Batman and screw over your other people.
All right.
So it's still Batman the Animated Series, but total opposite to Gotham Under Siege. Gotham Under Siege is total co-op. This one is your bad guys trying to screw each other over as well as trying to stop Batman.
Sounds pretty good, actually.
Whoever stops Batman first basically wins the game.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. Again, that's just dice.
I like the sound of it. You have to bring it over.
Yeah,
definitely.
Sure.
Be up for that, totally.
How long does it take to play? Sorry.
Depending how many players there are, it can be sort of an hour.
Oh, so again, in that sweet spot.
Yeah.
Nice.
Be cool if you could earn little Riddler trophies. Arkham style. That'd be quite cool, wouldn't it?
Just find them everywhere.
That's it.
Yeah, for sure.
So my number 1 is I had a number 1, but I recently changed it. I've done what Wayne has. It could possibly change again next week, and it could
probably will.
But this is a game that has been out for, I think it's 3 years now. There's a second edition coming out to Kickstarter soon, but I've just recently got hold of the deluxe edition, and it's very up my street. Again, sci-fi horror, based on the horror movie called Who Goes There, which is The Thing.
The Thing, the board game.
Yeah.
I thought you were going to say, because there is also another board game that was kickstarted called Who Goes There.
That's the one. That's the one I got. Who Goes There?
Oh,
yeah.
It's amazing. I've played that game.
Yeah,
as you were. Carry on.
Yeah.
Your thoughts?
Yeah, because they've said they've just released the second. There will be a second edition, second print of it. Yeah. But again, I was a massive fan of the Mondo version, which was the Infection on Outpost 31.
Yeah.
That was going to be my number 1 because that was sort of the game that got me back into board games. But I found this one recently, and I just love the idea of it. I love the fact that no one is infected to start with. You work together as a team.
Yes, it's a creeping threat.
Yes.
Yeah.
And as you progress, you collect what is called vulnerable cards.
Yeah.
And there's 12 of them. One in those is an infection, is you basically being the thing. And you collect them if certain things happen, like if the boiler breaks or if your stamina goes down. Or
yeah, there's a variety of triggers that will mean you have to draw one of these vulnerable cards. And obviously, the more vulnerable cards you draw, the more likely it is that you look like you're the thing.
Exactly, yeah. And there are certain phases in the game where you have to eat food or you have to bunk up with someone.
Yeah.
But it might get to a point where, say, you bunk up with Simon, and if Stuart wants to bunk up with me, but I've got 5 vulnerable cards, to you that could be like, well, if you're the thing, you're going to infect me if I bunk up with you. So
correct.
you kind of have a choice now.
Or if you share food with me and you're the thing, and I need some
Exactly.
food, or that you have a bunch of vulnerable cards, I might. Do you know what, I'd rather starve. I'll be
Yeah.
honest with you.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah,
Just
so-
it's just the design for the character boards, your little stamp, your little action cubes.
Oh, it's luxuriously designed. That
Very,
game. The
very
production
well.
values are great.
Yeah, it's just, again, it's something I found recently, and again, being a big fan of the film. It's not much into the film though; it's more based on the
short
book,
stories
isn't
in
it?
the
The
book,
short
yeah.
story, isn't it? Yeah. Even though you do have other characters like McCready in it from the film and whatnot, but yeah, it's so simple, and I just love how you work together. But then at the end of the day, you're at each other's throats.
Yeah.
I love the little blood test things.
Yes. So there are mechanisms where you have to check if you've been infected or not. I.e., when you're sharing food or bunking or whatever, and you have this clicker essentially, which you will set to either sort of infected or not infected, so the thing or the not, and you show them to each other in secret. And it's just a nice little tactile thing that you get to
Simple
get to
thing,
use.
isn't it?
Nice, simple, and it's just satisfying to use. Really cool. It's my buddy Chris. I think it's his favorite board game, or one of his favorite board games, and he introduced me to it, and we played it a bunch. Really amazing game. And again, I like that whole idea of the creeping threat. It's really cool. I suppose a couple of criticisms that I'd have, because I have criticism of all games really, but it's just small things that I think,
Yeah,
right, here's
little
something
nitpicks.
Yeah, because I'm a douchebag, but like there is the fact that it's essentially you're just running through decks until you find the things.
Of course
you
it
need.
is, yes,
So
yeah.
you do searches to try and get the things you need, but there's no balance for that. You just have to run through a deck. Fine, because I guess that's part of the game design. But the journey of the game is amazing, and that doesn't matter. But it has to say, for me, it falls down in the same way that Fallout does, where the end is a little bit unsatisfying.
Yes, I was going to get to that. But
sorry, buddy, yeah.
No, carry on. It's a helicopter bonus, isn't
Yes,
it?
that's
Yeah.
right, and the rolling of the dice essentially.
Yeah,
It's
so
like-
every player you have to have six points to get on the
I think
helicopter?
so. So basically, you're playing through the game trying to survive through the winter, and then there's an end game phase that gets triggered at some point.
That's right.
And the end goal being you need to get the fuck out of Alaska or wherever it is, right?
Yeah.
Or where is it?
Antarctica.
Antarctica, sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So you need to get the hell out of there, get on the helicopter and get away, but also make sure that the thing isn't with you, right? So like the books, like the stories.
That's right.
But essentially that can boil down to a dice roll.
Yeah, so you have your bonus points, and you have to equal up to who is going to go on the thing. Because I think if you play a certain character in the game, they can choose who to go with them,
Yeah.
which is kind of
The
deadly.
captain
Because
or
if that,
something,
because
yeah.
if I think it's Gary, the captain, if he is the thing, then you've got to try and convince him or convince your friends that he is the thing
To kill him.
But then if he gets figured out, he can attack you,
Yes.
and you can all get infected and get on the helicopter. So that is the only excitement to it. But I can see where Wayne is getting to it. It's a very downfall ending. It's so much hype, paranoia,
Yeah, the paranoia is great. It's
and then you
awesome.
get to the end, you're like, it is a bit of a letdown towards the end. Yes,
It's the same thing that Fallout had, but the thing is that didn't affect the enjoyment of the experience, because the journey was like, that's amazing. And every time I played Who Goes There, still love it.
Yeah.
Still would happily play it now. I think it's a phenomenal game. I think it's a very worthy number one. And
Yeah.
I think it also has those elements of social deduction, right? Everyone has a hidden role.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, because
I think,
you
I
have,
think
you have
sorry,
like the doctor and the cook and whatnot. But again, the cook has more food, so he can give out more food for you to get through the food phase. The doctor can blood test people.
So all their different powers again.
Absolutely, yeah. But it's like, if he shows you the clicker, it's like the Lady of the Lake in Avalon.
Yes,
Like, I can show you, I mean, I'm a good guy, but then you can go, well, he's infected. And again, you've got to try and convince everyone that's not the case. That's what I just love about it. It's just,
it also has great vibes from those stories as well.
yes, absolutely, yeah. And just, again, being a big fan of the film, it's up my alley. And if it wasn't going to be that, it would have been the Mondo version. But I've just, like I said, discovered this recently, and I just absolutely love it. I love the little tiles. I love the fact that you can upgrade your
Player board. And,
your player board, you carry. You can have. I think you have another dice, don't you? Like
You
you've
have
got a
another
bonus
cube
dice.
you can unlock. Yeah, a
That's
bonus
it.
dice, yeah.
So, which would be like an extra bullet or something to help you take out a rabid dog or something,
Yeah,
isn't
yeah,
it? It's
yeah.
just
Some events.
very clever. It's just very. Yeah, my only issue is that it's. I don't know if you're going to think the same thing, but when you look at the design of it, it's very cartoony.
It
Like
is.
Like it's meant to be a very serious sort of situation, but the characters and the look of it is very cartoony.
The art
Very
design is- yeah.
comic book look, sorry.
Yeah,
sorry,
the art
so I
design is
say,
comic book. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
which is probably, apart from obviously the helicopter phase, is my downside. But yeah, it's definitely got to be there.
What I've discovered in this podcast, I think you guys are very much on my page, where you like games where you like I said, you're not just playing the game; you're playing the players.
Yes.
Yeah. And I think that's a massive. And again, I think it's probably important to note that's not for everyone. And if that's not for you, you won't like Who Goes There.
Yes.
You won't like Rising Sun. You won't like Nemesis. Those games and Avalon, those aren't for you. But that's not a bad thing. I mean, that's the beautiful thing about the hobby, right? There's so much amazing scope and difference in board gaming and taste.
It's like saying Western Legends. I cannot stand cowboys, but you've made me should really get into it a lot. And your Marvel one you showed, you were mentioning before. Before that, I'd never played anything Marvel but Top Trumps. Yeah, and then when you got me into that, I was just like, that's another
Marvel
bonus.
Game,
So
there was a when Who Goes There did their second edition printing, there was an option to kickstart into it, but just get an additional bit to add into your Who Goes There base game. Did you do that?
Yeah, I did do that. Yeah. So basically, I got the deluxe edition from someone on Facebook. There's a board game
the
page
original
there.
printing.
Yeah. And he basically pre-ordered the add-on for I think it's like 20 quid or something.
To bolt onto the...
So and I gave him the money for that, so he's going to send it to me. I think it's out in February next year, which will be just a simple add-on.
So I think it makes some changes that I think will actually improve that game a whole lot.
Yes, I heard the event phase is going to be so much better as well.
The event phases and also the end game. So I definitely like the idea of that. And when's that coming? Because I would love to play that.
I think it's February or March. It's going to be out, so I'll have to bring it over. Oh, unless have you got it?
My friend Chris does.
Okay.
So I do not have it myself, so you'd have to bring it over.
Yeah, absolutely.
That would be amazing if we played that then with that expansion.
Oh God, I actually get to bring a game to the Games Master house. My goodness.
Exactly. And then another time, because that should be roughly around the time that I get Ankh Gods of Egypt too, so that could be a fun one.
Oh, nice. I still need to do Blood Rage. Please let me play Blood Rage.
Next
and
time,
voice eaters, please.
Send a list.
At the end of this, I know. Wait a second. At the end of this podcast, we'll stick a date in the diary, and you guys come
definitely. And get Stuart over as well. Yeah,
let's do it, man. Yeah. I'm game.
Oh, but that's it, guys. Well, thank you very much for coming on.
That's great.
There was some really good.
I've got a big list of games I want to play now. So quite interesting when we were talking that like most of the time, at least two of us had played one of the games we mentioned.
Yeah,
and we explaining it to the other person was actually quite interesting.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's a beautiful thing. And we all talked about a whole bunch of games, and I just love any excuse to come and chat board games, to be honest with you. So thank you for having me on the show and to chat with you guys and nerd out for a couple hours.
My credit card's not sorry though. That's the issue now.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, but shortlisted them all on Amazon.
Thank you very much, guys. I really do appreciate you coming on for that. So, right, here we go. So, yes, if you enjoyed what you listened to, please follow us on Facebook at the M.T.V.B. Podcast or on Instagram at M.T.V.B. Podcast. Subscribe to be notified for when future episodes are available. So, this is the M.T.V.B. Podcast, and this is the Ant-Man, Stuart, and Wayne signing off.
See you later.